Have you ever been on the hunt for a new doctor and you've asked literally everyone you know for their rec, but then people are like, I don't know, I don't really have any answers for you? Well, I'm sure that's happened to you because it happens to all of us. And even if you have a friend that gives you a good recommendation, you call them up and you either find out they don't take your insurance or they're not available for 6 months. So stop doing that. Instead, go to ZocDoc because ZocDoc is making it so easy for you to find the doctor that you need, can trust, takes your insurance, and is available when you need them. And ZocDoc is free. ZocDoc is helping millions find doctors that are trusted, patient-reviewed, take your insurance, are there when you need it. ZocDoc is a free app where you can find amazing doctors and book appointments online. We're talking about booking appointments with thousands of top-rated doctors, patient-reviewed doctors, and specialists. You can filter specifically for the ones that take your insurance, are located near you, and treat any condition you're searching for. The average wait time for a doctor on ZocDoc is between 24 and 48 hours. That's it. Go to ZocDoc, download the app for free today, or just go to ZocDoc.com. Again, go to ZocDoc.com/VIALL and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/VIALL, ZocDoc.com/VIALL. This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar. Did you finally restock, Amanda? Did you get some more in the car?
I need them desperately. I'm running on fumes.
Yeah, well,
it's bad.
You need to get it. Yeah.
Because let me tell you, when I'm in LA traffic and I'm running late and I just finished my Pilates class and I'm trying to make it to improv and I need something to keep me from being the most hangry woman in the world, I always reach for an IQ bar.
Because it tastes delicious and it's good for you. I mean, come on. Like, what more can you ask for? Discover the brain and body boosting benefits of IQ Bar with their ultimate sampler pack. Get 7 IQ bars, 4 IQ mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. And today our listeners get an exclusive offer of 20% off plus free shipping. Just text FILES, FILES, to 64,000. All their flavors are delicious. Their chocolate sea salt, delicious. Peanut butter chip, amazing. And wild blueberry. They all taste great, and it's incredible. IQ Mix Stick, it has 0 sugar. It's a drink mix that hydrates with electrolytes, improves mood with magnesium, and boosts clarity. The lion's mane adaptogen. So many healthy things without discounting flavor. Refuel smarter with IQ Bar's ultimate sampler pack. That's 7 IQ bars, 4 IQ Mix Sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. And now our special podcast listeners get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus get free shipping. To get your 20% off, just text FILES, FILES, to 64,000. Get your discount. Text FILES to 64,000. That's FILES, FILES, to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
You're crazy.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a new and special episode of the Viall Files Ask Nick edition. I'm your host, Nick. Join, Amanda, she's calling from home, the single and only household member we have, with abundance of caution for the rest of the team. She is staying home and safe. And our very, very special guest, someone I'm very excited to have on the show. I've been following his career for a long time. Lewis Howes. Am I saying your last name right?
Howes, like how's your mom?
Howes, yeah. So good to have you, Lewis.
Thanks, man.
It's
I'm glad we finally made this happen.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people know of you, know who you are, but for the people who don't, can you give a little kind of intro? You know, you're a thought leader a lot. You know, you have a very successful podcast of your own, The School of Greatness. Mm-hmm. But yeah, could you just give a little background in terms of your show and just kind of almost like your mission statement, because I feel like you have a clear kind of intentional show.
Yeah, well, my mission is to serve 100 million lives weekly to help them improve the quality of their life.
Hell yeah. Oh,
that's
great.
My mission. And my show's been around. It's my 10-year anniversary. I think you've been doing yours for what, 7, 8 years?
We started in 2019, so not quite as long.
Okay, 4 years. Maybe.
But people think I'm like an OG podcaster. You truly.
10 years, yeah. So my whole thing has been about being a student of life, and by being a student of interviewing and consuming from wise individuals, people who are much wiser than me in money, mindset, relationships, and health and wellness. And so I've been doing that for 10 years. And the more you become a student, you learn a lot. And so I just feel like I've learned a lot through my own mistakes, adversities, challenges, and relationship, intimacy, business, career, health and wellness, everything. But I started a healing journey about 10 years ago. And it's been a beautiful journey ever since.
What got you into that? Because, you know, when we talk, obviously, very much relationships with dating in this show. And for me, it was more just as people who listen to the show know, is like my own struggles and my own actions that got me into various messes of relationships. And you people will hear with some of our callers, I often can relate to their experience for different ways of, making excuses for my own choices letting people take advantage of me or, lying to myself and things like that. And as a result of me having to kind of get over some tough situations, I kind of got into this kind of soul searching and self-reflection. Yeah. Was there a period for you that you had a struggle? Like, how did you come to want to like have these conversations?
I was living in New York City. I moved from Ohio. I'm from a small town in Ohio. So we're both Midwest guys, right? I moved from Ohio to New York, and I had an online marketing business, and I was like, that started to grow, and I was getting success. I was doing online courses, and I was doing webinars and selling my programs online. So I was kind of like living this internet lifestyle, right? Laptop, I could go anywhere. I was making good money, and I'm living the dream in New York. And I met a girl, and she had just moved to LA, and she, after about 5 months of dating, she was like, hey, it was kind of at a crossroads. She was like, I don't want to do long distance anymore. I've always done that. Like, I kind of want to be in the same city. And I was like, well, I can fly here 2-3 weeks a month, but I'm loving New York. And eventually she was like, no, I need your things in the same city as me. I was like, okay, well, I don't have much, but she wanted me to live here, essentially is what it was after a couple months. And I remember being frustrated because I was like, man, I really like this girl, but I don't want to move. And I decided to abandon self to go for love, right? And to give this a shot. Because I also didn't want to regret. Yeah. What if it doesn't work out? Sure. What if we break up? And I would have this wonder. So I moved to LA, and here's the story. The day I land in LA, 2 suitcases, a laptop, and a guitar. That's all I have. I get out of the lease in New York, move here. Don't have a place yet. Just get an Airbnb for a month.
Sure.
The day I land, she breaks up with me. And I remember now we get back together.
How old are you at this point?
29, 28, 29, somewhere around there. And it was like, what? I just moved here and you're breaking. There were some signs of sabotage already before then. It was too good. It was too good. And she wanted to live a nightlife type of life. And she was a couple years younger. And so she wasn't ready, right? But she wanted it, but she had her fears. I was people pleasing. I was crossing my boundaries to try to like make it work. So we both had our challenges. And we get back together for a few months off and on. But then it was just kind of like, this sucks. Why did I move here? Screw LA. New York was amazing. These girls suck here. This relationship, And so I was in this inflection point where I had to do some soul searching. That eventually ended. And I was kind of like depressed for a couple of months, like figuring it out. I was like, who am I? What am I doing? Started getting frustrated with my business partner. Started getting frustrated with the traffic and getting reactive. And these kind of breakdowns led to me realizing something's wrong, like something's off in my life. And I started to go through coaching, searching coaching, mentorship, started doing emotional intelligence workshops, therapy, all these different things, which led to me for the first time in 25 years talking about being sexually abused as a kid and kind of the pain and the fear and the anxiety I had around the feeling of abuse, right? That wound and pain that I didn't tell anyone for 25 years. But also just, I think the stresses of my parents never really loving each other, getting married when they were 19, having 4 kids early on, and staying together for the kids, but it being a very toxic living environment. You've got 10 siblings, is that right? So I don't know the dynamics there, but I left home at 13. I begged my parents to send me away just because it didn't feel safe. Yeah. But I was always trying to choose partners that would kind of fix the relationship of my parents, right? If I was able to assess it. So there was just a lot of healing that I needed to work through and a lot of self-reflection. And that was kind of the beginning of like, oh, I want to start this podcast to learn more about myself and learn from the best. And that's kind of like the evolution. So it doesn't mean I've had a perfect 10 years. I've had a lot of ups and downs, but every year I learn something new. I make mistakes. I overcome it, and it's the healing journey, man. So it's just been a beautiful, beautiful experience.
That's great. With regards to like dating and relationships,
yes.
Well, I wanted to talk to you in general about like the state of dating today. We talk a lot about it just because it doesn't seem to be getting better. It feels like it's getting worse.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I think it's getting, it's interesting. I was just having this conversation with a couple people recently, someone that moved out of Los Angeles to go to San Diego. Okay. And they're saying that it's better. The guys are better there from their experience. And then I have another person that moved from San Diego to LA and saying the guys there are horrible and it's better here. So it's like, I think it depends on your perspective.
Sure.
And what you're choosing to see and who you're choosing to spend time with. But I have heard that it's really challenging. It's really tough. But I think when you allow yourself to go into environments to attract certain people that are unhealthy environments, you can't expect to get a healthy result. And so you have to look within yourself to say, where am I spending my time and energy attracting these types of individuals? And, am I still in people pleasing? Am I abandoning myself? We're going to talk about a lot of this today with people, but it always comes back to the inner work. I had a lot of anxiety still over the last 10 years, but it wasn't until the last 3 years where there was this pain in my chest that would come and go in relationships sometimes. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago where that pain finally went away after intensive therapy. Like I'm talking about 6 hours on Saturdays, like diving in, doing anything possible to get rid of this pain. And it wasn't until I was able to heal that pain internally where I was able to see externally what I was attracting. And I was able to make different decisions. And I quickly met my fiance, became my, girlfriend, now fiance, pretty quickly after that pain. Literally, it felt like a ball of pain in my chest disintegrated throughout my body. And a few months later, probably 6 months later or so, I met her and I could tell the difference. And it was a complete shift in how I was, interacting with someone from before. When I had that pain and that wound, I would interact with people differently. It was more needy energy, more insecure, more, choosing people that were more broken than me than what I thought, so I could try to fix them or be the rescuer or whatever it might be, as opposed to just choosing someone on a healthy healing journey as well. And it's been a complete transformation. And the amount of abundance of love and peace that I have is incredible. It doesn't mean it's always perfect. There's challenges, but it's like night and day. And so that's been the journey.
So the big takeaway, what I'm hearing, it's just it really came down to, which I feel like a lot of people do when it comes to dating. It's, you mentioned that story. Oh, guys suck here. Yes. Girls suck here. And yes, there's a lot of bad options out there and a lot of frustrating people, but we can only control what we can control,
exactly.
And yet I feel like I think we live in a time where we want to hold people accountable, but it seems to be at the expense of holding ourselves accountable at times.
Oh man, yeah.
It feels like.
Yeah, and my values weren't in alignment with what I said I wanted, right? Always. And so, and that takes diving deep and doing the emotional work and reflecting on where I've been and where I want to be, and then matching my actions with my values and my vision and living in accordance with that consistently. It's making that commitment to self and taking action that builds a strong bond of confidence, competence, and respect and love for self.
How are you able to hold yourself accountable? Once you kind of identified what was triggering that pain, we have a caller that refers to, a partner that was going to therapy.
Yes.
And then stopped therapy. Well, it's easy, it's not always easy to start, but a lot of people start and stop these things, but as I'm sure you can attest to, is that it's like an ongoing thing, to constantly work on yourself. How 100%. Do you keep holding yourself accountable?
I got therapy tonight. I go to therapy, and when things are great, that's when I think you should be going to therapy. Not when things are wrong. Yeah. Yes, go when things are wrong, but I think it's interesting because when I started the relationship, I was doing my own therapy. And when I started, hanging out with Martha, I guess dating, I said to her, before we got committed, so we were just kind of dating for a number of months, right? But we started to see each other more and more. I realized this person has a healthy relationship with self. And I knew something was different, but I was kind of I don't want to be in a relationship right now. But I was like, man, this is something's different here. It's healthy. And I said to her, listen, this isn't a deal breaker, but I would love to be committed to you to explore more. But I've always had a vision of starting a relationship in therapy. Would you be open to it? And she was like, absolutely. And so for me, we started the relationship in therapy. Now, this is like when everything's great. There was like no friction, no problems. We were like having a great time. And we started in therapy, and it was the best thing that I've ever done for myself.
So, yeah, I always say therapy's much better served as like a bicycle helmet or like a seatbelt rather than reconstructive surgery.
Yeah, we go to the gym when we're healthy to prevent injury as well, to prevent getting sick.
Yeah.
Not when you're sick, then you go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's like you should be constantly in the practice. And it doesn't mean you got to do it every week or every month, but it's like, what are you doing? And we created agreements and alignment quickly because I wanted to know, I don't know about you, but I've been in too many 2-year relationships that ended poorly.
Yeah.
And it's because we didn't have the clear, conscious communication beginning about values, vision, money, sex, family, kids, all those things that people wait because they just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to have all these conversations up front and see if we're in alignment. If not, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want me to waste my time.
Yeah.
And that was a huge blessing. And it doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect forever, but it has created a harmonious first few years. And it's allowed us to handle breakdowns with, a sense of calm and a sense of like, it's not going to explode. Like maybe there's some friction, but we're not explosive and reactive and running away. It's like, all right, we know we're in this together. Let's talk about this. And we have these tools that we've agreed to.
Yeah. So for all the people listening, many of which, or the majority of which are women, and let's say they're listening and they're saying, wow, man, Lewis, Nick, wow, you sound like two emotionally mature guys. You've done the work. But my boyfriend or all these guys I've talked to, they won't do this, they won't do that. And that's great for you guys, but, I can't find that. What would you say to those people?
Are you being it? Are you fully being the thing that you're looking to find?
What do you mean by that?
Are you being vulnerable? Are you being courageous in your communication? Are you being your word to yourself and to your partner or the people you're dating? Are you showing up the way you want them to show up? Are you creating those healthy boundaries with self? It's that journey of self-love, that journey of acceptance, that journey of transformation, growth, and healing. I'm always going to be healing. It's not like I've reached the destination of healing and I'm a whole perfect person nonstop. There's got to be triggers and things that come up that I get to process and integrate those learnings continuously. And you hopefully get better over time. So it's like, okay, if you're not attracting these guys, you got to ask yourself, am I being the ideal partner to myself first? And the people we're going to talk to today, we're going to hear from all of them. They're not being the ideal person to themselves. They're not being the ideal partner to self, being a stand for their values because they're allowing things to happen that are against their values. So really getting clarity, like what are my values? You ask me like, what's your mission statement? I know in a sentence what it is. That clarity of knowing doesn't mean I'm going to hit that vision. My mission's to serve 100 million lives weekly to help them improve their quality of their life. It doesn't mean that is actually going to be actualized, but it allows me to say yes and no to things that can support that vision. It allows me to make decisions for myself to say, who do I need to become in order to reach that mission? Should I be drinking alcohol every night and eating sugar all day? Is that going to help me impact and serve people? If I'm sleeping with 20 people a day, is that going to help me be a conscious human being and serve people? So it makes me make better decisions in life to live up to a standard that matches the vision I'm trying to reach. And I think a lot of people, we'll hear from people today who aren't living up to their own standards and allowing other people to do things that are out of integrity with what they say they want. And if we're not doing the things we say we want, then why should we get these things that we want without living them ourselves first?
Yeah.
So you want a great guy, like who's conscious and healthy and does the work, and you shouldn't be going to the bars every night because you're probably not going to find that conscious guy always at the bars, right? It's funny. I go to the gym here close by, and one of the trainers of the fitness classes, she used to train at the same CrossFit gym that I did 10 years ago when I moved here. When I was going through the breakup with the girl and dealing with my life, I was doing CrossFit. And she would work out there, and I saw her there. She goes, "Hey, do you remember me? I used to be the trainer here, blah, blah, blah. I'm teaching over here now." And I go, "Oh, that's cool." And she was asking me a couple personal questions. She follows me as well online, and she was asking me a couple personal things. And her class was all women and one guy. And I was like, "There's only one guy in here." And she goes, "Yeah, he came here and he met his wife, and he keeps coming here with his wife now. They've been coming for years, right? And I think a lot of people are going to the wrong places looking for the right person. And you got to start going to the right places to find the right person. And he went to, I want to find a woman that takes care of herself. I want to find a person that's committed consistently to the gym, someone who lives in that lifestyle. He showed up to the environment and met that person. Now it's his wife, and they keep showing up together in that lifestyle. So it's just a matter of choices, and I think I've made a lot of poor choices that were based on sexual desire as opposed to spiritual connection. And that was based on wounds. I had these wounds that I wanted to feel something as opposed to create based on a vision and based on a different type of connection. And that can be fun. It can be exciting. We'll hear a story about someone who's like been in the 2-year, exciting fantasy life, but that doesn't mean you're living the vision.
Yeah.
And we've been through lots of ups and downs in relationships and had lots of fun, but a lot of pain. And I just don't think that serves our highest self at the best level. And it takes us shifting the way we've been in order to create something new.
Yeah, that's really well said. Something I want to touch base with you on, it's just kind of more of a general thought.
Yeah.
As a man yourself, we had a caller a couple episodes ago who was married and she was thinking about leaving the marriage. And partly had to come down, and it seemed like her husband was aware of the struggles that they were having. And the more she talked about him, it sounded like the more, and she even said, I think he hates women.
Wow.
He was 29-year-old man. And then we put out some clips of the episode, and I'll get these comments from every once in a while. My page will reach certain men, or men in general, because I have a strong woman audience. Yeah. And there's a consistent message of what I can only gather is a lot of men who feel very disenfranchised, frustrated with how they're talked about, men in general.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed that at all. And, it's just like, I think there definitely needed to be a correction and continues to be a correction from, the expectations of men and how they handle themselves out in public and how they treat women, Me Too, things like that. But as often is the case, it seems like maybe has there been an overcorrection to the point where men, it's just like, it's like, again, it's like even in relationships, it's like, it's always okay for like a girlfriend to be like, you're a fucking asshole.
But a guy can't say that.
No. And I don't want to call my person a fucking asshole or a bitch or anything like that.
Yeah. That language.
Yeah.
If you allow that, you're allowing someone to walk all over you. I mean, I'm forgetting the name of this book, but there was a book of a woman who created an experiment. Maybe our producer here can look this up and just, Google at some point to see if this comes up. But there was a woman that did an experiment for a year or a year and a half. She essentially became a man, dressed like a man, got a high sales, high tense sales job.
Like presented herself as a
man, like, physically looked like a man, right?
Okay.
But she was a woman, and she knew she was a woman, but she was like, I want to do an experiment, And she had the physical characteristics that could be, I guess, looking like a man as well.
Sure.
Right? So she put on a suit. She kind of covered her breasts. She sounded like, she talked like, and she presented herself as a man. I think this was like 10 years ago. The book is Self-Made Man by Nora Vincent. She did a whole experience, and she went on dates with women, right? Now, she was a woman that used to go on dates with men, and now she said, I'm going to go on dates with women, right? She was bisexual, I think. And afterwards, her whole book was essentially about how it was, she could sit there and take a date with a woman, and one look of disgust or disinterest could just crumble her self-confidence as a man. And she was like, wow, like the women that I was going on dates with really made me feel small, just with a look, with just a snarl, with a disinterest, with just looking away and not showing that they cared or have a mutual respect. When here, she was, as a man, trying to wine and dine, trying to get flowers, trying to do the reservation, paying for things, doing all the things that society tells men to do. And then just one quick thing of like, you're a fucking asshole. You're this, or whatever, or just on the phone or whatever it is, right? Like, she said she felt so small. And she was like, wow, the pressures of men are so high in relationships. There's no wonder why men go through bouts of, a lot more men commit suicide, have depression, anxiety, all these different things. I'm not saying it's okay for men to treat women poorly because of that. And there are tons of pressures and challenges that women face, obviously in relationships and dating. But there's, men face a lot of stress, feeling rejected, feeling not enough, feeling inadequate. It's never good enough. No matter how much I pay for things or how hard I try, it's still not enough.
It almost, even when you talk about it, it's like we always have to be like, yes, no,
women have problems too. There's challenges.
As if we always have to justify why we're saying, hey, let's also pay attention to the plight of single men out there and the struggles that they might have.
Constantly rejected, Yeah. And I get the challenges of women of never feeling good enough or never feeling like they're pretty enough in the comparison game and all the different stresses that come with that, needing to look perfect and, all that stuff. But there's a lot of pressure, and I think for both. But I think men feel ultimately lonelier in general than women in general, because men don't have these conversations with their friends as much as women have it as much in general. And, I think the statistic currently is 50% of men don't feel like they have one male friend they can be fully open and honest and vulnerable with.
Yeah, just really say
one male friend. You can go to the bar, you could watch a game with them, but can you turn to them and just say, I'm really struggling emotionally. I feel really stressed out about my relationship. Not saying, oh, my girl's a nag or something, but like, man, I really don't feel enough. And I'm suffering and struggling and I don't know what to do. I wrote a book called The Mask of Masculinity years ago that was about the mask that men wear to try to fit in and project something to feel enough, right? But it's essentially not their authentic selves. We all have these different masks. And when I was doing kind of a tour talking about this years ago, the rooms would be about half men and women, right? And I would ask this is just a scenario, right? And I was going all around the country. Maybe this is different right now, but this was all around the country at the time. I would ask the women in the room, I'd say, raise your hand if once a week you get together with your girlfriends or your mom or your sister or girlfriend, and you talk about the challenges in your life. You talk about relationship issues. You talk about friendship issues. You talk about your body image issues. You talk about whatever's going on, and you open up. Almost all the women in every room would raise their hand. So yeah, like once a week. And I say, keep your hand up as a joke if you do this every day. Like if you talk to a girlfriend at lunch break every day, or you call your mom or something, and they all kind of laugh and giggle and keep their hand up, right? It's almost a daily thing in general, not all women, but in general. And I say, okay, from the men in the room, raise your hand if once a month you get together with one male friend and you talk about your insecurities. You talk about your relationship challenges. In a vulnerable way. You talk about your sadness. Maybe 2 or 3 out of hundreds of men would raise their hand. And I would always point to them and say, are you guys part of like a mandatory church group that does this and like 50 men get together and, it's like a safe environment where you can kind of, open up, and they all kind of like kind of giggling and laughing. And I go, ladies, imagine, and everyone watching and listening right now, just put this scenario in your minds. Imagine if you were not allowed to, you could only open up once a month about how you felt to any girlfriend. You could only do it once a month. How would that make you feel? And when I asked people that, they were like, it'd probably drive me crazy if I had to hold all these emotions in, these feelings in, and I could only wait once a month to have this conversation. It would be really challenging. And I go, Matt, what if you did it once a year? And they're like, no, it's not possible. No, it's not possible. I go, what if you waited a lifetime and you never shared? They would always kind of joke and say, I'd probably kill myself. And I say, well, that's what men are doing. They're numbing themselves. They're becoming alcoholic, drug addict, porn addict, sex addict, whatever they can do, or they're killing themselves eventually, because that's why suicide rates are higher in men. That's why depression and loneliness are higher in men. And I'm not saying it's men's fault. It's everyone's responsibility to have courage to have these conversations with men. But when you get shot down by men or made fun of when you open up with a guy friend, it doesn't feel good. When you get shot down by a woman, when you start to be vulnerable or cry once, and they say, hey, I actually need you to be strong right now, it doesn't feel good. We put on a mask. So I'm not saying this is justified or right. I'm just saying it is a challenge.
Yeah. I think that's more than anything. I think it's just we need to start at least acknowledging it and have it be a safe space to say, yeah, we've done a lot of work in society, and
Mhm.
we've appropriately held certain men accountable.
Yes.
But we also need to still acknowledge that men have their struggles too, and
Absolutely.
they're very severe. Now, what would you say?
And especially in modern society with the internet culture, you can't just expect every man to be some high value man
yeah,
who's making six figures, that's 6 feet tall with a six pack, and has a secure job, has their own house, has a nice car. You can't expect every man to live up to that standard at 23, 25, 26. It takes time to build yourself into having a great career that's making good money, that's, able to pay for things. So you can't expect a man to pay you for $300 at, sushi down the street on your first date right away and be like, oh, if he's not willing to pay for $300 the first date, then he doesn't deserve my time. You got to think about, how are you showing up to the relationship? Also, how are you adding value? Are you being present and kind and courteous? I'm not saying you got to sleep with the guy. But are you showing up with a good energy as opposed to an expectation? What are you contributing as well? And you don't want a relationship that is single-sided. That's not a healthy relationship. So
Yeah.
you just got to be thinking about these things in the context of who you're dating and who you're going out with and their life and what can they afford and how can they show up based on their whole context of their history. You can't expect people to be perfect at 24.
Yeah. What's one bit of advice you'd have for women to better connect with any man in their life, to help a man in their life feel safer or more vulnerable, and just to be a good partner, whether it's a potential dating option or current partner? How could the women who are listening and saying, hey, well, I want to help, I want to at least be an empathetic partner, what would be advice that you'd have?
It depends on if it's like a brother or a father or, a friend or something like that. But I think a lot of men in general lack hearing a few things. And that is, I appreciate you, you're valued, and I love you. I think men lack hearing that, and it's a lot of what men want.
Yeah.
They just want to hear, I appreciate you. Thank you for working so hard. Like, I get just kind of emotional thinking about it because I don't remember hearing that like in my 20s and in my early 30s, like the women in my life just saying, thank you for working so hard, like for working on yourself, for showing up for us, for, not that I was perfect or whatever, but just like men want to hear that they are valued for working hard and that they are accepted for who they are. I'm not saying it's justified if they're making mistakes left and right, but
when they do something that you're proud of, or know that they worked out, tell them. Yeah.
And men will move mountains for you if they hear that. It doesn't have to be every day, like constantly praising them or something, but it's just, man, you say that every once in a while, you're going to get so much more out of the men in your life. And also when I opened up about being sexually abused, I was 30 years old when I opened up about it. Now I was 5 when this happened, right? So I was 5. It was a man that I didn't know. It was the babysitter's son, who was probably like 16 or 17. When I was 8, my brother went to prison for 4.5 years for selling drugs to an undercover cop. So he was 18, went to prison, sentenced 6 to 25 years. So every weekend we drove 2.5 hours when I was 8 till I was 12 to a visiting room in a prison. And I was around, 50 convicts and their families every weekend. My parents were struggling. They were going through challenges. So every man has their own context. I'm not saying that mine is worse or harder than other people. We all have different challenges growing up. And you have to understand that every human being has had a past. And most people haven't healed their past or haven't addressed it. We chase things, we overcompensate, we, try to achieve to overcome the pains of the past. We run away from it a lot. When I was 30, I finally realized like I had made over $1 million. I had a successful business. I was a professional athlete. I was on the U.S. Olympic team for a sport called team handball, representing USA. I had a world record holder in football for the most receiving yards in a single game. I was a 2-sport All-American. Like, I could stack up accomplishments, but the whole time I was running away from pain to try to make myself feel lovable and feel enough. But the more I accomplished and achieved, the more angry I got because it didn't make me feel lovable and enough. And most men don't feel that way. even if they look like they got it all put together, even if they look like they're dressed perfectly, they got style, they're six-pack, they're at the gym, they probably don't feel enough, especially in their 20s. And so my biggest fear was people not loving me and not accepting me. And the thing was, if they really knew about my past, would they love and accept me? Maybe they'll love and accept me if I can contribute with financially or with my success or accomplishments or what I bring as an image, a mask. But if they really knew me, would they love me? That was my fear. So when I started to go through this healing journey and kind of opening up for the first time in an emotional intelligence workshop, my biggest fear was I can't tell a soul, otherwise my business will end. No one will buy anything from me ever again. If they knew this happened to me, my family will disown me. I'll never get a girl again in my life. This was these irrational fears that I felt, right? They weren't true. They were just like, but they felt true. And a therapist told me, I really want to tell my family, but I just don't think they'll love me. And she said, ask them each a question before you tell them about your experience. Don't just throw it on them. Ask them a question. Is there anything I could ever say or do that would make you not love me? And when I asked that question to each family member and then each friend, and they said, no, there's nothing you could ever do or say, it gave me permission to feel accepted for all my wounds, all my shame, all my embarrassments, all my pain, all my traumas. Now, I want to just throw these things on your guy friends or your girlfriends or whatever, or your family until you feel safe and comfortable to do that. But that process allowed me to feel like, oh, I am lovable. I am enough, even with all my past. And again, I think a lot of men in today's world feel like they're going to get rejected with just a snarl, a negative look at a woman. That a woman's going to look at them negatively. They're just like dismiss them so quickly, could quickly feel dismissed by a first date if someone just like, oh, you do that, with like a little disgust. Yeah. Just like, oh, if they're disgusted at me for one little thing that I'm doing in my life right now, what about all my wounds and all my traumas?
Should I actually do, yeah.
Like, there's no way they'll accept me or think I'm lovable if they really knew these things about me. When they're so dismissive now, I'm not saying every woman is this way, but it's just like, if that's the experience they're feeling. So I think women can understand, and it's vice versa. Like men get to do the same thing for women too, but I think women can create a safe environment to see the whole person and all their past. I'm not saying you have to do that in the first date or something, but understand that we all have pain and trauma, and everyone wants to be seen and loved and accepted. And the more we can do that with ourselves, the more that we can do that for others.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, all really great stuff. And like you said before, to simplify, men love compliments. Like I'll tell them out, like, gas your guy up, make him feel good. Dude, like, I'm proud of you.
I don't need anything else.
I'll
bust my ass for you.
Truly, yeah.
I will move mountains just to be like, man, I'm so grateful for you. And
I just feel like we've kind of gone too long without acknowledging that almost, where it's just like, oh, we don't need that. And men, are partly to blame for acting like they don't care.
Yes.
Or to say, hey, it would really make me feel good if you just said X, Y, or Z. Men aren't good at communicating that.
And I'm sure women are saying, I wish men complimented me as well more and told me I look nice and I appreciate this.
And as they should. Yeah, but exactly. It does, it can go both ways. Well, that was really great. I really appreciate it. Again, we have some great calls lined up for you. We'll Lewis and I will talk a lot about our callers, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed doing it with Lewis. Lewis, before we get to our callers, can you just remind our audience, about your show, where they can follow you, all that great stuff that you're doing?
I'm at Lewis Howes everywhere online, and School of Greatness podcast.
All right. Well, be sure to check that out. And don't forget to send in those questions at asknick@theviallfiles.com for all things texting, office hours, mediation, all of the above. Let's get to our callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Hi, Nick. I'm Charlie, and I'm 24, and I'm a gay man, and I can't tell if the guy that I like is also gay.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit more.
All right, so it all started when I first followed him on Instagram a while ago when I was a senior in college. He didn't go to my college, but he knew people that I interned with, and we were studying like the same thing, so I just was like, makes sense. Nothing ever came out of that, but a couple months later, at the end of my senior year, he announced that he got a job in the same state as me. Not in the same city, but in the same state. So he was the only person that I knew from back at home that also got a job in the state. So I slid up and I was like, oh my gosh, congratulations, how cool. From there, we just kind of kept on like DMing back and forth. We started our jobs at the same time. So we'd always post about our jobs and we'd always like just kind of talk about like the industry. And then eventually that kind of like fizzled out. And then in the beginning of summertime, he had reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm going to be in your city. Would you want to get drinks with me? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. And I didn't really think much about it at the time. But then as like the time started creeping up, I was like, wait, is this just kind of like a casual meetup because we're both, in the same industry, or is this kind of like a date? So I tried not to get in my head about it. And when I met him, the first thing he does is give me a bro clap up.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, yep, this guy is straight. So honestly, that's totally fine because it was kind of like a
Is that usually a dead giveaway? Or
for me, like I never clap up. Like sometimes people try to give me a clap up. I'm just like, and it's like a weird, awkward handshake.
I'm just trying to think with my gay friends. I guess we just usually hug when I greet them, but I don't.
We definitely did the bro clap.
Yeah,
this morning.
Lewis and I bro clapped up.
Yeah, like you will never, if you see me do that, it's kind of like and I do like one of these with my hand. It's just not, it is not cute. But anyway, so as soon as he did that, I was like, okay, that's a relief off my shoulders. And I can just like not worry about like impressing anyone. And so we got drinks. We're at this like restaurant with like live music. And it was just so nice because again, he's like from my area. So it was nice to talk to someone from my area because I'm hundreds of miles away from home. And then also just talking about the industry and, someone who can relate to that. And then eventually we were at the restaurant, I would say for maybe like 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, just talking.
What was he doing in your city? Was he like, was it for work?
I was just about to get to that.
Okay.
He was on a friend's trip. Like his friends just took a weekend trip to my city. But I found that out later, and I'll tell you guys that in a second.
Okay.
But eventually, like the restaurant was closing. The waitress was like, "Hey guys, like we're actually closing. Like so you guys like have to leave." Because we're
got kicked
like,
out.
The last ones in. Not kicked out, but she was just like,
no, but like you guys were really.
Yeah, so like we were like one of the last people there, if not like the last people there.
Okay, yeah.
So eventually that's when I found out that he was here on a weekend trip with his friends. And when we went out, it was a Saturday. So I kind of just think like if you're on a weekend trip with your friends, like Saturday night is like the night when you like do stuff. And like he told me that his friends were like doing other things. And like it was just like me and him. And like if he wanted to like get drinks for like 2 hours.
That is odd.
Like 2 hours, like that's totally fine because like the night would still be young. But at this point it was like 11:30.
What did you all talk about? Like was it
it just kind of like the industry, life back at home, like our career goals. At one point, like we started talking about kind of like the social scene or the dating life in our like relative cities. And like for me, I was just like, yeah, like guys here, like I don't know, I'm not like a big fan, whatever. And then like when he was talking about like the people in his town, he was just kind of like using like they them pronouns. And like I just wasn't sure if he did that intentionally. I don't think he did. I didn't hear she. So he didn't say like girls or anything like that. So I was like, okay, interesting.
But you were specifically talking about, from your point of view, dating in your town and as the night went on and you guys were just maybe moved away from industry talk and you were just kind of talking about life and as a 24, you're 24?
Yes.
Yeah, so as a 24-year-old man, talk about dating and you're mentioning the men in this town, yada, yada, yada. And then when he started talking, he's just saying they and them and
yeah. So I think like where he lives is kind of like a college town. So he was like saying like, oh yeah, the people here, they're like really young. And so like when I go out, like they're usually like underage. Like he's just saying, or like not underage, but like not like 21 or just younger because we're like 23, 24.
Gotcha.
I don't remember that exactly, but just more like he just did not use girls or she.
Did you ask him at all if he likes guys or girls? Did you say, oh, who are you into?
No, because it was really like the thing is like it was our first time ever meeting. Like we are kind of like I guess like internet friends, but like not really. I would say like we're friends, but it was like our first time meeting. Like, we weren't like on that level.
What I mean, I guess, and I'm curious, genuine question, like, what is that level? I mean, I guess I feel like in 2023, as a gay man, are you still trying to like figure? Clearly, I mean, I guess, but you're still trying to figure out whether people, other men in your case, are gay, or is it rude to ask? Like, hey man, like, are 2023. I don't know. Like it's in LA. It's just like, hey, do you date men? Do you date women? I date men. Great. And moving on. Like it's usually not like a state secret these days. But
like for me, I feel like that's kind of like a bold question because you never really know like how someone's gonna react. I remember like when I was first coming out like a while ago. Like when people would ask me that, like before I came out, I'd be like, "What? No! Like, what are you talking about?"
Would your voice change like that?
No, like I have like my straight man voice, like, "Hey, how you doing? What are you talking about?" But no, I did not want to ask that. And like, it just wasn't, it was a very small part of like the entire night. So it wasn't something that I really brought up.
All right. So you guys eventually the waitress is like, hey guys, you gotta leave. How did the night end?
So it literally just ended like, he was like, yeah, I'm going to meet with my friends, but like I'll have to come visit again sometime. And I was like, yeah, just like, let me know. And like, we literally just like, all right, bye. I don't remember. It was not another clap up, but I forget like how he said goodbye. But I think it was just like a regular, like, all right, see you later. And then, so like, again, like after that, I was like all giddy, but I was trying not to get my hopes up. And so, I mean, a couple of weeks passed by, I would say honestly like a month. And I honestly forgot about like this man. And, again, he has a beach house, like in my like hometown. So he posted on his Instagram story, like a picture of the beach with the location. And I like slid up on it. I was like, I'm so jealous.
How old is this person?
I mean, 24. He's gonna be 24.
He is like my age, either 23, 24.
Is it his beach house or is it his parents' beach house?
Oh, his family.
Damn.
Sorry. His family.
If he was going to say it's his beach house, either he's lying to you or...
No.
It was a 40-year-old man.
It was...
Yeah.
No.
Or you can Google why he has this much money.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like one of the three options, but it's his family's property. Okay.
Yes, it's his family's property. So, I slid up on it. I was like, hey, I'm jealous, whatever. And he was like, I'll bring you back some popcorn because like in our town, like popcorn and eventually saltwater taffy are like big deals in our area. So, he was like,
where do you live?
Myrtle Beach?
Yeah, where do you live?
No, I live in New Jersey.
New Jersey. Oh, okay. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, after he said the popcorn, I said, oh, and some saltwater taffy, please. So this begins saltwater taffy gate. And so he was like, okay, like what kind? And I was like, I'm just kidding. You don't have to get me anything. So we kind of like left it at that.
Now this sounds very flirtatious.
Yeah.
That starts to sound a little flirtatious to me.
Again, I don't really know. And so he later that week, he like texted me. He was like, hey, like I'm here at the saltwater taffy place. Like, what kind of saltwater taffy do you want? And I was like, I was just kidding. You don't have to get me anything. And he was like, no, like, what do you want? I was like, I don't even know like what kind of flavors they have. They have so many. And he was like, a variety pack it is. And I was like, well, you don't have to do that.
Man,
but,
there's
like,
a lot there.
There's a lot of women out. There's a lot of women out there like listening to this, being like, I wish the guy paid this much effort, paid this much attention, and went out of his way.
A week later, I remembered that I liked taffy.
Yeah, right. The variety pack. I don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And like again, like I have like straight friends, and like I just feel like that's not usually something like that they would do, or I wouldn't expect them to.
They would do that with a woman they're interested in.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and I remember like my friends over like at my job, I was telling them about this and they were like, it's weird. Like there's something going on. But anyway, so eventually again, he texted me. He was like, hey, have your saltwater taffy? Like, when am I coming to visit?
Wow.
And I was like, well, like, I know that you have off on these days, but is there any way
when am I coming to visit?
When are you coming to visit?
Oh, he asked you.
No. When is he coming?
Oh,
He's
wow.
like, when am I?
He reached out to you. He's like, I got your taffy. When do you want me to come deliver it to you?
Yes.
Oh,
so then I was like, all right, so like, I know you have off like these days, but I'm off like these days. Like, if you want to come down like these days, we could like plan a day or something. And he like didn't respond. But I was like, it's not like that big of a deal. So then I was like updating my calendar and I was like kind of thinking about it because, I was kind of excited. And I was like, let me just reach out. So I was like, hey, like, just want to check back in. Like, did you have a certain day you like wanted to come down so I can put it in my planner? Radio silence.
Ooh.
So I was like, okay, all right. Well, obviously, I think I got a little bit too excited. So I kind of just like left it at that. Eventually, we just like start going back to like, oh yeah, over all this stuff is also over like phone texting. So
you took it off
eventually,
Instagram.
yeah, so it's off Instagram. So eventually we go back to just like DMing back and forth, like no big deal,
Very
just like
intentional.
commenting on like word things. And eventually we would sometimes like continue the conversation, and then he would just bring up like visiting. And I'm like, yeah, like come visit. But then there would just like be like no action. So then eventually,
Sounds like a fuckboy.
a couple weeks ago, me and my friend, we went to visit this new city that I wanted to explore. And I posted on my Instagram, not like an Instagram story, like an actual post, like, just like, scenery pictures. I think I was in like one of the pictures, and it wasn't even just me, it was just like me and my friend. And there's 2 comments on that post. One from the friend that went on the trip with me, and then he also commented on the post. And he put 3 emojis that I was just like, I don't know what that means. He put
What are they?
He put the shocked face emoji, heart eyes, and then yes, and then hand making a heart. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but of course, me being me, I'm like, ah. And so for the rest of the week, I'm like trying to figure out a way that, I can have an excuse to like text this man. So I remembered like that Thanksgiving's coming up, and I got off for the holidays. So I texted him, I was like, hey, like, did you get off for Thanksgiving? And he was like, yeah, I got off. And I was like, oh, nice. Are you going to go like to the shore for like Thanksgiving? And he was like, no, I'm actually probably going to stay here. And he was like, it's just too expensive. And I was like, yeah, that's understandable. And I said that specifically because I was like, you can either not respond, or if he wants to continue the conversation.
That's like expensive real estate. You can't afford a flight home.
No, so I was like, yeah, that's understandable. And I said, like, if he wants to continue the conversation, he can. But if you were just leave it there, it would not be like anything. So then he was like, I was just thinking about like your city, and I need to come down soon. And I was like, yeah, like visit me whenever. And then I was like, also,
meanwhile, this taffy is probably getting like hard.
Wait, I was just about to get there, Nick. Wait. So then I follow that up with ... Also waiting on my saltwater taffy with the eyes. And then he responds with, TBH, I ate the taffy. And then he was like, and then I also added that I needed to come to his city because it's on my list of places I would like to explore. So after I said that, I was like, I'd like to like visit your city because it's on my list of places I want to explore.
What you should have said is, now you have to make up for it when you see me.
Oh my God.
To see how he responded. Now, if you would have said that after you said I had the taffy, you might have got some clarity right there.
That's true. I wish I was that bold, but I was too busy like freaking out. But then he was like, you should have my job send me to his city we're journalists. So he was like, you should have them have you cover a story in my city. And like, obviously like he's in the business, so he knows that like my job would never like send me to like his city to cover a story, because like that wouldn't make any sense. So he was like, you should have them like send you to my city. And I was like, I wish I could do that, but they probably wouldn't do that, but I have to come visit. And then he was like, you should come like to like this city because like there's different places, like different things to do. And I was like, yeah, like when I do eventually figure out a date, you'll have to give me a list of recommendations of places to go. And I said that specifically because I was like, if he wanted to like show me around, he would offer. So I left it at that. And then he responded with, yeah, dude, I'll have to show you around. So it was the dude that was throwing me off. And then my roommate, when he said that I should cover a story in his city, she was like, he's definitely like news flirting with you. And I was like, I don't know. I do not know.
News flirting.
What's news flirting?
Like, I don't know, like come pitch a city or come pitch a story in my city. Like, I don't know. Like, there would be no. His city is like 2 hours away, so
And
there'd
so
be
where
no
are we?
reason for
Where
me
are
to.
we now?
So that was like the last time we talked. He said happy birthday to me. My birthday was like on Sunday,
Happy
and he said
birthday.
happy birthday. And like I was kind of dramatic about it. I was like, I really hope he like says happy birthday. And literally as I was dozing off into my slumber on the last few minutes of my birthday,
This guy's
I
interesting.
get I get a text message from him, and he says happy birthday. And I was like, oh, thank you
That
so
is-
much. And then that was it.
Who pays that much
So-
attention on birthdays? Also, to be at midnight with a guy, you know, it's like you don't do that with your girlfriends.
Well, it wasn't. I was going to sleep around like 10 o'clock, so it wasn't midnight. It wasn't midnight,
Uh-huh.
but
He took the time. He's just very
Yeah.
intentional with you.
I don't like. I thought maybe
It's-
you saw
here's
like
the thing.
like freak post stuff on Instagram. I don't-
Who knows? Amanda, you probably remembers about a year ago, year and a half ago, we had a very similar caller, a very lovely gentleman, gay man, had this friendship with this guy, and as much as this guy is flirting with our wonderful caller here, this other story, he was like, there were examples of him like kind of caressing, his
Interesting.
shoulder. They were going to take a trip together with friends, and we were just like, and then he shared his Instagram. We didn't share it, but
Right.
he gave us reference, and they looked like an adorable couple.
Wow.
Like, you can only tell so much through a picture.
yeah.
And we were just like, well, just shoot your shot, man. It
Yeah.
sounds like there's a lot of potential there. It was, again, another young man around your age. So the thought is like, hey, maybe he just hasn't come out yet. Maybe he's
Maybe he's curious.
shy,
maybe he's-
curious, doesn't really know, and he has a crush on you. And he eventually shot a shot and it got shut down pretty hard.
Oh, snap.
Oh God.
Now, who knows? I mean, I don't. You have more experience in this, but like as you kind of referenced earlier, coming out, sadly, and at least in some spaces of our world and our country, can be still a very difficult and challenging moment because of family dynamics and their surroundings and friends and the dude comments and the dapping up with you. Like, sure, yeah, that's more bro energy, but like as you. I'm sure you mentioned, you kind of joked, you have your straight man voice. I think there's a lot of, gay people in, I guess, in hiding, kind of, they have their masks on and they will change their behavior and sometimes, little things will creep through, in terms of they'll forget to change their voice or, I guess my answer is who fucking knows? You have every right, though, I guess is my point, you're not crazy, right? I think Lewis and I agree that you're not crazy to wonder the heart eyes emojis.
That's
Like I would give my gay friends, like, will I comment on Instagram that if you didn't know us, anything about us, someone could think I'm flirting? Sure.
Yeah.
But my friends,
They
we know each
they
other.
know
We
it's
have a
a joke
rapport.
or whatever,
They know it's
yeah.
a joke. Like I'm very complimentary of them. They know I'm a straight man. They are familiar with Natalie. They have a relationship with her. So there's no way to confuse
there's no
that.
guessing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys don't have that rapport. He seems to be very well aware of that you're gay and your sexuality.
Yes. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
So I guess this is all to say, like, you've heard me. You have the right to ask, or at least put it out there.
Now you might ask, and he may say no.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not true that he has curiosities, or he's gay, or he's interested in you. He just may be afraid
Yeah.
to be vulnerable and open. And I think a lot of people are afraid to be vulnerable and open in general. Even if they're a straight man and being vulnerable and open with a woman. So I think it's you may ask, you may be right, but he still may say no. That's not me.
That's very true. Yeah, I mean, I just really wanted to get some advice because, like, when I explain to my friends, I just end up feeling like I am like really reading into things because I'm like, I don't know if there's just like nothing going on in my love life that I am just kind of like I see a guy that I find cute, and then like we text or he slides up on my Instagram, so then I get excited just because that's all that's going on.
Sure.
And then like I also don't know if I'm mistaking like kindness, but because he's a very nice person, for like flirting. But then in my experience, I'm like, I just feel like I can usually tell, but in this instance, I just cannot tell whatsoever.
I think answer to both those questions you have is yes, right? Like the fact that you reference, hey, my love life has been kind of slow. Regardless of this man's sexuality and his interest in you, you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know, it's dramatic. You know, you're having fun, wondering. You're talking to your friends. You're just kind of invested in the story, and that's totally okay. And so, is the fun, the drama of this all is making you more invested in him than you otherwise would?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, like anyone else, regardless of their sexuality. The drama of the scenario will sometimes make us more into people, the chase, you know, you know, the wondering, the suspense. It is keeping you preoccupied. And so, you know, just remember that if you don't get the answer you want, instead of like crashing down and being all sad about it, just, you know, maybe it's just the whole storyline that you're more invested rather than him.
Mm-hmm.
This is not to say there might be potential there, and maybe you find him attractive, and you said he's nice. And then on the what was the other the part you mentioned? Oh, and that's that you're just not you have the right to. You're not crazy.
Yeah,
you know, like regardless of what he says, you're reading into it. But the heart eyes emojis and things like that, for him not to make it clear who he dates, knowing that you're a gay man, and then
that's interesting.
He's clearly flirting.
What do you want from this relationship? Do you want to explore dating this person? Do you just want to know if he's gay or not?
Yeah.
Do you want to just be friends? Do you rather just cut him off eventually if he's not interested so you could actually get into a healthy, conscious relationship? What is the thing that you want?
I think for right now, I think I just want some like clarity on like if he is gay or not, just because like then I can like either we can just continue being friends because again, like he's a really nice guy. He also works in the same industry as me. So just someone who can relate to me like on a different level. But I mean, if he was gay and like things were to, I guess, develop or get more serious, I would be open to that. But like, I don't even like, I would cross that bridge when I get there. I just want to know if he's gay or not.
Are you willing to
ask him?
Are you willing to ask?
No. So here's the thing. So my one friend did tell me that like I should just like go like to his city and like just hang out another time because we've only hung out once and just like see what the vibe is. Because like if I were to go to like his city and like,
but would you go if you knew that he wasn't gay and interested in dating you?
I would go. I think I would have to. I would need some like time, just like. So I don't have like any more.
Are you really sure? I mean, let's like you text him or call him. You put yourself out there, and it's some version of, "Hey, I don't know if I'm crossing a line here, but you know I'm gay, and I've really enjoyed spending time with you, and I just want to be respectful because I've been a little confused. You know, are you in? You know, something, right?" Yeah. And he shoots you down hard, and he maybe gets a little, "Nah, man, like I think you're wonderful, but like, you know, I'm very straight and I'm just not into that." And he's just like, "But I hope we can be friends."
Yeah. Would you still want to go and be friends?
Yeah. And he kind of like, he distances himself for a couple weeks because it's awkward. You really are, you're going to get on a plane and go visit him?
Actually, when you say it like that, I'm not actually really sure. I
don't think you would.
Like,
how strong is the friendship you're looking to build with this guy? Yeah.
I would actually probably be like, I don't really know. Because also on the list of places I would like to explore, like his city, like it's not like top of priority. Like there's a bunch of other
you're going
cities
for
I'd
him.
rather-
Yeah. Like it's a city that you would enjoy seeing if there was someone you wanted to go visit and spend time with. And sure, yeah, show me around your town, but I really want to see you.
How long has this conversation been going since you guys followed each other in the first contact till now?
Since we first followed each other, it's been, I would say, almost 2 years.
And he
But,
flew
like,
out.
when
2
we-
years?
And he flew out to your city with his friends, but left his friends to spend the entire night with you.
Drove.
Drove.
That was 2 years ago?
No. So that was
The
2 years
first
ago was when we
interaction.
first followed each other.
Oh.
I would say when we hung out, it was in the beginning of summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like, it was like May.
I mean, I don't know, man. He's got some curiosity. Ask him.
I think you got to ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this has all been fun and you've enjoyed the drama of this whole interaction. You've loved talking to your friends. It is. It's fun. Hey, man, you get together with friends. Be like, oh, my God, let me tell you the story.
Yeah.
Right? It's been fun for you. and you're having fun telling us, and we're having fun talking with you. But if your goal is, and Lewis asked you, what is your goal? And and you said, I just want to find out, man, where I stand with him, if he's into men, yes or no. And the only way to get a clear answer is just to politely ask. And there's, it's.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and you're thinking about this. It sounds like you're thinking about this off and on. Maybe every time you post, maybe you're like, in the back of your mind, subconsciously thinking, will he leave an emoji? What emoji? You're like nodding and shaking. You're like getting giddy now because this is probably what's happening. Every time I post, is he going to text me today? Is this? And, I'm assuming you know that where you put your thoughts is where you put your energy. And so if you're putting your thinking around this guy, every move you make, is he going to reply? Is he going to remember it's my birthday? Is he going to check in on me on Monday mornings to tell me have a great week? All these things are taking your energy and your time. And that's cool if you want to drag this on for 2 more years. But if you have a vision and your heart is open and full and you want to connect with someone and you want to have a meaningful relationship, then you got to start putting your thoughts and your time and your attention in other areas that serve that vision for yourself. So that's just my opinion.
It's like Lewis read my mind. Yeah.
And again, you could go 2 more years and say, will this happen, this whole fantasy? Or you can get clarity, like you said, and clarity, as you know, takes courage. It takes courage to ask courageous questions and be willing to be rejected. I think I've heard you talk about this when I think Kristen asked you a question, Cavallari asked you, like, okay, you're dating someone for a few months. When do you know, like, how do you communicate you want this to be a commitment?
Yeah.
And I think maybe you just said, like, hey, I want to be committed to you.
Yeah. You just got to state your intentions of what you want.
And you were like, well, that means you might have to walk away if they say no.
Yeah.
And that takes courage.
It absolutely does. But like you said, clarity is, rejection is, I always say, like, rejection is clarity because it's an answer.
It's freedom too.
Yeah. And you're going to, Lewis is saying everything I would say, so it's great to have him here, and I love to hear his point of view because it's always nice to hear him say it in a slightly different way and articulate it. But you've heard me say that if you listen to this show, like, your time is not infinite, and your energy that you have is not infinite as well, right? And so you're just going to have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? You're having fun now, right? It is entertaining. I've said this.
You can see how his body it moves and shakes, and his like heart is pounding, and he's like smiling, just him thinking about this whole scenario.
But you have to ask yourself, you mentioned earlier, my dating life is a little slow. Well, it's like a chicken before the egg argument. Is it slow because the past 6 months, all your energy around dating has gone into figuring out whether this man is into you or not.
Oh man.
And it's probably way more than you even realize.
Oh yeah.
That's energy you could be just simply putting into your dating life in other spaces, or putting into yourself, putting into your job, into your friends. And I think we always have to be mindful of how much energy we put into any one thing or any one person. And I think we have a habit of kind of getting comfortable with this one thing. And if you have an obsessive personality, which I know I do, you get like laser focusing on someone, and we make all these excuses for, at the end of the day, why it's just more comfortable for us to zero in on this one thing or this one person rather than spread our wings and kind of see what else is out there.
No, yeah.
And I bet the biggest fear is like the story will end.
Yeah.
This story that you've been living in for 2 years is either going to end or evolve in some way.
Yeah.
And that's almost like a death. If I have this conversation, this relationship has the potential to die. And you don't want that to die because it's interesting, it's curious, it's fun, it's scary, it's risky. You're feeling things you've never felt probably. Or maybe you have and you like them. But it may not be healthy feelings. They may be exciting feelings, but those chemicals may be from a wound rather than from a healed place. And that may be the attraction where you're getting all this like energy and these chemicals and, what's the emoji? Is he gay? Is he straight? What if he converts from straight to gay for me? All these different stories that could be in your mind or maybe not, but that's a lot of chemicals.
But you probably fantasized about all these storylines. Have you gone to bed and been like, oh my God, like what if he did this? Oh my God. But yeah, I mean,
I
Lewis,
mean, it's true.
yeah.
Yes. I mean, I have just been like, oh, like, wouldn't it be just like so nice? Like we like have so much in common. He's so nice, he's so cool. And then, but then I'm just like, oh, but we don't even know if he even likes boys. So,
and this whole time he could just be playing with you.
Yeah.
That's the thing that, and I'm sure women have experienced a lot of this. He could just be playing with you because he knows that you are gay.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he has bad intentions, but he could just be like, oh, I'm living my life. I'm not in the same city. So I can kind of have this like curious, like fun type of friendship, weird relationship thing. Get this person really into me, which I'm sure women have experienced from men who are not fully committed or interested long term.
Just want the attention.
Just like the intention. Yeah. Oh, it's like a little game. It's a harmless. But when emotions and your heart is involved, you're the one who's going to be hurting at the end of the day. Now, you benefit from this also. You get something out of this also, but you got to ask yourself, what is it you really want?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys hit it right on the money. Like, I think I just genuinely like the feeling of like having a crush, like having like something juicy to tell my friends.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know, I haven't genuinely like liked someone in like a really long time. Like I've dated other people like during the summertime and stuff like that. I just like kind of like ended it just because like it wasn't really something that I was like totally invested in. But like with him, it's just like, oh, like he's like, I like his personality, and then I like how he does like
you got to be careful because you don't genuinely like him either. You genuinely like the idea of him.
Yes.
And you've created a lot of
fantasies
about who he is as a person. You know him a little bit, but he's also a bit flaky.
And you've only met him in person once in 2 years. You really don't know him that well.
That's true. I always forget about that part.
And you've thought a lot more about him. That's how people fall in love on The Bachelor. Literally, they fantasize because it's a relationship that is more with withholding love. You have a few minutes, you have some interactions.
You're hoping.
Yeah, you have the moment. You're just like, and then they pull you away. And
then
so
they go back to their lives.
They go back, when you go back to the house, they go on other dates. So then you're jealous and you're like, oh my God.
Are they thinking about me?
Are they thinking about me? And all while that you're sitting at the house, you're just like fantasizing what a life would like be like. And you're falling in love with the idea of them. We all do that, right?
And like what if they pick me?
Yeah, what if they pick me? You're on The Bachelor, you're fighting with your competitors in your head for the love of this person. So by the time you get to the end, you have gone to battle.
Jeez.
So to speak. But that's what people do. Like it's just a heightened version of life. I really think this would be a growth opportunity for you. Ask him to end this fantasy. It's been fun. It's played out to Lewis's point, but I think you need some clarity so that you can either accept where things are at. And maybe there's something there with this guy. But I think right now, because otherwise, this will eventually fade away, most likely by him kind of ghosting you or not getting an answer you don't want. And I say this from personal experience, like you want to get in the habit of once you are confused about someone's intentions to have the guts and to get that clarity, because otherwise you're going to waste a lot more of your time. And right now, this is pretty harmless for you. It's not really costing you much. But that won't always be the case.
Just your love life.
Yeah.
It's only costing you a beautiful, incredible life of love with someone else.
Yeah.
So now maybe you're not interested in that because you're in your young 20s. So you're like, hey, that's not what I want right now. I just want to have fun and just be curious with different people. But it's harmless unless your vision and your dream is to have a healthy, loving relationship. Then it's costing you everything you dream of.
Dang, yeah. You guys were right.
Nick, have you ever challenged someone to FaceTime the person live and ask them the question?
A couple of weeks ago, we had someone text someone for divorce. That
no,
happened.
They did not.
Yeah.
They texted them.
It was a unique situation where like he was just unavailable and like not taking her seriously. And it was more her kind of standing up for herself in a way.
They had spent 2 days together in the last month.
3 months.
They were married.
They were married. It was a real sad story.
That's
he was
really
like
sad.
hunting. It was a sad. And so it was more of an empowering moment. We still need an update from her.
We should. Would he?
I actually just listened to that episode. I love that.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You gotta ask this person this week and then come back in like a month and give the recap.
Oh, we do updates.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I do think if you want, we can help you draft a text to this guy.
Ooh.
Okay, we can do that. I don't know if I'm going to send it though right now.
Why not?
Yeah.
You've heard me say this before. There will never be a time where you're going to feel like, you know what? Now I want to send this. You're always going to have to get over this wall, this hurdle of getting this clarity, because as Lewis pointed out, it's fear.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't want the story to end. You can see it in his body language.
No,
he doesn't want the story to end.
Yeah, it's like when you have to delete photos of your ex. You know,
Dude.
you
don't want it to end. The fantasy.
Yeah. All right. Well, fine. Is this an active situation?
It is an active situation. Yes.
Oh God, I'm so excited.
Right. But you have to promise. If we're gonna draft it, you have to promise to send it,
and you have to show us that you're sending it.
Fine. Deal.
Do we have your word?
You have my word.
All right.
If we can virtual handshake.
We have to bro shake on it.
A clap up.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's start. Ready?
Man.
Okay. Wait. Let me get
Hey, blank.
Okay. Okay. 1 sec. I'm a slow texter. Okay.
I just say hi in your however you would say hi to him.
Hey, sweetie.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, sweetie.
Hey, darling. Hey, babe.
Sweet cheek. What's going on?
Hey, love.
Well, how would you start?
Okay.
How would you start it?
Okay.
I want it to be in your
Like,
words.
hey, so a bit of an odd question, but it's been something that I've been thinking about recently.
Okay.
And I would just like some clarity.
There you go. Okay. Perfect. Direct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be some long, drawn out.
Yeah.
It can be short and sweet.
Gosh, I'm so bad at texting. I'm sorry, guys.
No, you're good. You could voice text too.
Oh, that's true.
I do love a good
Okay.
voice.
You
note.
know? Yeah.
This is a bit of an odd question. I'm going to do voice to text.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. The mic was on. But I've been thinking about it a lot, and I would just like some clarity, period. Are you gay? Like, I don't know.
I mean,
I feel like that. I feel like that's really direct.
you could just say like, I've really enjoyed
Mm-hmm.
spending time with you and getting to know you.
Mm-hmm. Our connection. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would be lying if I said that sometimes I find myself thinking about you more than friends.
Mm.
Okay. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and talking to you. You guys said
Yeah, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Our connection or our interactions.
Okay. And I'd be lying if I said that I haven't caught feelings.
You could do
Would
that.
that be?
Sure.
Is that good?
Yeah, if that's how you feel, I'm fine with that. And then you could say, that being said, I have really no idea, if you're even, who you date or if you're even interested in men at all.
Yeah. And I have no expectations.
And I have no expectations, but I wanted to put myself out there and simply just kind of check in.
Right.
I hope that, and you kind of finish it how you want.
And I appreciate our friendship either way.
Yeah. I wanted to be respectful and just be direct and come out and ask you.
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, I have no idea if you're interested in guys at all.
Yeah, you could say like, I figured it would be more mature just to be direct and ask rather than
guess,
guess or make an awkward move that you wouldn't appreciate or something like that.
Okay. So I have, hey, blank, this is a bit of an odd question, but I've been thinking about it a lot and I would just like some clarity. I really enjoy getting to know you, and I'd be lying if I said that I haven't caught some feelings. That being said, I really have no idea if you're interested in guys at all. I thought it'd be more mature to just ask you directly.
And regardless, I really value our and regardless of how you feel, I value our friendship.
There you go.
Okay.
Man, this is exciting.
Hope to hear from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is exciting. Now, would you also give this same advice to a woman who's just kind of casually hanging out with a guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've sent a lot of these.
Yeah. So almost the exact same thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I find that there's obviously a lot of difference between men and women, gay or straight, but 95% of the time, regardless of your gender or sexuality, we all have the same fears and concerns, and we make all the same excuses, and I think we have more similarities than differences. I have found, especially just in general social dynamics, you know. And
all right,
sounds great. I think we're ready to send it.
I have drafted it. I put a smiley face up. Then is that okay?
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have the courage to send it right now?
Yeah. Send it.
I do.
All right.
I do. Honestly, because then I have to go to work, and I'm just like, it's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine.
It is fine.
And you know, he may not respond. Really, anything's possible. And like Lewis said earlier, you know, this may be a guy who is struggling with his sexuality, and just you might catch him off guard. He might not be ready to come out, you know, or maybe he is just fucking with you because he likes the attention.
Yes.
Really, everything's on the table. But I think once you send it, be proud of yourself that you put yourself out there.
Yes.
And honestly, like don't just like dismiss it as like this was like a big step for you, because it is very difficult for people to do what you're doing right now, to be that vulnerable, to put yourself out there. You know, and as Lewis pointed out, like you are willing to potentially close this chapter of your life, which hasn't really gotten anywhere, but has been a lot of fun for you.
Yes.
Yes, I will say it is a great story, and like I do smile when I think about it. So it's totally fine. I'm just gonna read it one more time before I send it, just to make sure there's no grammar issues. Because if he's not interested, at least my grammar's right.
There you go.
All right. So, hey, blank, this is a bit of an odd question, but I've been thinking about it a lot, and I would just like some clarity. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I'd be lying if I said that I haven't caught some feelings. That being said, I really have no idea if you're interested in guys at all. I thought it'd be more mature just to ask you directly. I have no expectations, and regardless of how you feel, I value our friendship. I hope to hear from you.
Perfect. Send it.
Send it.
Okay, we're sending it. Oh!
Let's see that it's blue.
Let's see the blue. There we go.
Yes.
There we go. Congratulations.
That's huge.
I'm gonna die.
That's exciting.
You are not going to die. You did a great thing.
Oh my God.
Treat yourself today.
Okay.
Whatever you do to treat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
A Starbucks, or I don't know.
There you go.
Maybe,
you know, the
maybe
more
wrap.
frequently you do this is a big leap. You know, so don't take it lightly if you've never really done this. It's been 2 years you've been thinking of having this conversation, and you know, luckily you've got the maestro of words, Nick, over here, who's telling you what to say to make sure it's authentic. But it is a big leap, and you get to acknowledge yourself for, you know, even if it seems small. I just sent this text. It wasn't that big a deal. It is a big deal because vulnerably, courageously, you had to do something you've been thinking about for 2 years, and most people never have that courage. They just live in limbo. So congrats to you.
Oh, thank you. No, I literally kind of just wrote in, like, I was like literally like flying back home. I kind of wrote in just kind of as like a way to like get out all my feelings. And I was like, oh, let's see what, like, I'm going to send it into the Viall Files to see what Nick has to say. And I did not expect to hear from you guys at all. But I really do appreciate the advice, because I was like, Nick, he'll give me some amazing advice. And Lewis, thank you so much for your
happy to
insight.
help. Please keep us posted.
Check in.
We definitely want an update regardless.
Okay.
But regardless of his answer, you did a great thing.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
If you're on the go, busy. I know all you podcast listeners, that's why you listen to us, because it's something you're doing in between your commute. You're busy, you're a working professional, you don't have time to think about, what am I eating for dinner tonight? And then, if you even land on an idea, then going to the grocery store, shopping for those groceries, taking it home, making it, take all that off your plate with Every Plate, because Every Plate is helping you have delicious home-cooked meals with a variety that are good for you and taste great.
Here's the thing about Every Plate is, like, groceries are expensive these days. Genuinely, you will save money, and you will save money while learning how to cook new recipes and using a bunch of ingredients that maybe you wouldn't have picked out for yourself, but will actually really like. I also think something that's great about the company is they offset 100% of their delivery emissions, and all their meals have a 31% lower carbon footprint on average than supermarket meals of the same portion. Plus, nearly all the packaging materials are curbside recyclable in most areas of the U.S. And right now you can get $1 steak for life.
Ooh, $1 steak for life. America's best value meal kit. Their meals are 50% cheaper than your average fast casual meal, so ditch the takeout and save money while still enjoying fast, satisfying meals.
They have quite a selection of meals. I tried the Thai coconut soup with shrimp, and then I had a honey mustard chicken the next day.
So delicious. Get a meal for just $1.49 plus $1 steaks for life by going to everyplate.com/podcast. And entering code 49VIALL. Subscription must be active to qualify and redeem the $1 steak. Get started with every plate for just $1.49 per meal plus a $1 steaks for life by joining everyplate.com/podcast and entering code 49VIALL. Subscription must be active to qualify and redeem $1 steak. Again, that's everyplate.com/podcast. Enter code 49VIALL. Subscription must be active to qualify and redeem the $1 steak. Viall, are you working out and looking like a scrub? Well, cut that out and get Viall. Whether it's you, the man in your life, or both of you, this holiday season, start looking sexy when you're working out. And if maybe you don't even want to work out, maybe you want to look stylish and comfortable, like that stylish leisure wear, Viall is honestly good for any occasion, whether it's shopping, whether it's lounging out with friends, taking the kids to the park, working out, it doesn't matter. The product is incredibly versatile and it can be used for just about any activity. Like we said, running, training, yoga, swimming, doesn't really matter. Viall is also 100% offsetting their carbon footprint. They are also reducing and offsetting 100% of their plastic footprint from 2019 and beyond. They are utilizing better sustainable materials for their products, empowering your best active life. You can't beat the versatility with Viall. The men's core short is a staple when it comes to my workout wardrobe, the most comfortable lining athletic shorts I've ever worn. It's great. And the best part is I'm a sweater and I don't feel like soaked in my workout gear, you know? Also, the men's Sunday performance jogger, the perfect lounge or workout jogger. I actually wear it more for the lounging part, but also good for a brisk morning jog. You really can't beat it. Viall is an investment in your happiness. For our listeners, they are offering 20% off your first purchase. Get yourself some of the most comfortable and versatile clothing on the planet at viall.com/VIALL. That is VUORI.com/VIALL. Not only will you receive 20% off your first purchase, but enjoying free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. Go to viall.com/VIALL and discover the versatility of Viall clothing. How's it going?
Hi, Nick. My name is Caroline and I am 31.
My name is Pamela, and I am 54.
Nice to meet you both. And how can we help?
I wrote in because I'm wondering if my mom is hung up on the spark or if her boyfriend just isn't the right guy. And when I first wrote into you guys a few months ago, I thought maybe it was an issue of her being hung up on the spark. And I think my perspective has changed a little bit. And I'm starting to think maybe he's not the right guy, as sad as that makes me to say.
Okay. What makes you think that?
I think they started off pretty strong. They've been together for 5 years this month. And when they started, they seemed really compatible. They seemed to balance each other out. My mom is my best friend. She also has a strong personality and she has some pretty quirky humor. And he had the same humor. And he just embraced her for who she was. And they seemed to have so much fun together and they seemed really happy. And my mom had been single for, over a decade.
Yeah.
So seeing her that happy just brought me a lot of joy to see. The past year and a half, things have kind of taken a turn where she is coming to me for advice, saying things like she doesn't feel as in love with him as she used to. She wonders if they'd be better off as friends. My mom also really values her independence. And I kind of observe her getting annoyed when he's around too much. And to me, those seemed like things like maybe they're just going through the cycle of getting used to or being in a long-term relationship and kind of just getting into a rut and that spark going away. So at first, that's why I thought she was just addicted to the spark and she wasn't feeling that anymore. And they weren't communicating to get that spark back. I think over time, she's opened up to me a bit more about her relationship struggles with him. It seems that he has a lot of insecurities and often looks for reasons to accuse her of flirting with other men. And mostly when I see them together, they're just not happy anymore. They don't smile around each other anymore. They're not really affectionate with each other. They used to hug on each other. They don't do that. So it's just kind of slowly unraveling, and the communication is not getting any better.
Does this all sound accurate, Mom?
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about him, like right now?
I love him. I mean, he's an amazing man.
What do you love about how he makes you feel?
I think that he really loves me. I feel that.
Okay.
Does he accept you?
I would say yes for the most part. However, he has been a little bit insecure lately. And he kind of accuses me of flirting with people, like she said. And I've always been the same personality that I am
And
now.
So when he's accusing you of flirting, what's the scenario or what's the situation where he is?
Is it like online flirting? You're liking photos of guys, or you're out in public, or?
No, we don't even share social media anymore.
Okay.
He doesn't want to see men commenting on me. So we don't share media any longer.
I mean, you're not on social media anymore because of that?
No, I'm on social media. I use it for business and whatnot. But we don't friend each other.
Okay.
Oh, you're not connected on like Instagram. He's not following you. You're not following him.
Or Facebook, or
You're not, just because the insecurity is so big, or what?
I think so. He said that he does not want to see what other men comment.
Interesting.
How old is he?
52.
Okay.
How old are you?
54.
Okay. That seems excessive. How many men are commenting on your Instagram?
I don't know.
I mean,
not that many.
From my perspective, I agree that seems excessive. I mean, she's not the most tech savvy, not to be rude. Like she's not posting stories. She's not tagging people to get attention. She's not interacting with followers. I mean, her followers are friends and family.
No booty shots, Mom.
Yeah, thirst
yeah,
traps.
No bikini pics.
Those days are gone.
But so, okay, other than this kind of weird internet behavior or these kind of weird boundaries that he seems to have with you guys being friends on Instagram, but are there other specific scenarios where he has accused you of flirting?
Yeah. I mean, just if I receive a phone call, he gets sometimes he gets a little nervous of who it is, or if I'm going to meet with them, and it could be a client.
Do you think he trusts you?
He says he doesn't.
He says he doesn't trust.
He said he used to trust me with his life, and now he does not.
Oh, wow.
Did you ask him why?
Yeah.
And what did he say?
I have. He says he just doesn't trust me, and he that's all he says is, I just don't trust you.
Well, it's hard to be in a relationship without trust.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Agreed. I mean, we used to trust each other.
But and he's like, I don't trust you. You're like, hey, can you explain why? And he's like, I just don't.
Well, I mean, he does. I do have a lot of guy friends, but I don't go to lunch with them. I'm not hanging out with them. I don't go to the bars with them. I don't drink with them. They don't come over to my home.
What do you know about his dating past? I mean, he been hurt in the past? Has he been cheated on?
By one person. He was cheated on, a wife, and that hurt him pretty bad.
Sure. What has he done to deal with that?
Oh, he went to therapy. He worked through
like
a couple of years. A couple of years of therapy.
But is he in it anymore?
No, he refuses.
He refuses?
Yeah. We tried it. We tried couples counseling for a little while. And now he says that didn't work. So we're not going back.
What didn't work about it?
I think from his perspective, the counselor and I tended to see eye to eye on a lot of things.
He felt ganged up.
I think he felt ganged up, and it was a male. And I tried very, very hard to make sure that did not happen, or that he didn't feel that way. But in the throes of therapy, truths tend to come out. And
I think sometimes people will get into couples therapy as a way to get the partner that they think should be in therapy into therapy, And while couples therapy, I think, is wonderful and can be great for a couple to like iron out. It's really just about, again, how to better communicate, get on the same page. A good couples therapist really just kind of plays mediator, they're playing referee. They're, when you're talking and expressing frustrations you're having, They're paying attention to like the body language of how your partner's hearing and seeing it and knowing when to check in. Because when we are in conflict with our partners, we're not really paying attention if they're listening to us and receiving what we're saying and things like that. So we'll just talk over them and things like that. And a good couples therapist will play referee. But if it's not, to me, the way you're describing it, it's like whatever therapy he had in the past to deal with the trauma that he experienced from his, past wife cheating on him or girlfriend, whoever it was, he didn't fix that problem. It's still an issue for him. And whatever tools he learned or didn't learn, he either isn't practicing them anymore, or it didn't, he just stopped. Like therapy can be an ongoing thing for the trauma that we experience.
And Mom, have you guys created a vision for the relationship you guys want to create with clear agreements around how you live, your lifestyle, work, friends? Like, have you created those agreements so there's clarity on what the rules of engagement are for your relationship?
Yeah, initially we did. Initially we had kind of big plans, and circumstances changed. Obviously, COVID kind of changed our world, not just our lives, but our world. And so a lot of the plans that we were engaging in changed, and he's actually still upset about that because he said we had a plan.
What was the plan?
The plan was to move out of California, and I felt that the majority of the responsibility fell upon me because I have a home. I actually have two homes, so I would have to sell one, and I didn't want to leave my family. So. And then when the situation changed in the world, my situation changed, my income changed, everything changed. And
do you guys live together?
And I tried to explain them. We did live together for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And then he moved out.
He moved out last year.
And that, if I can just chime in on the moving situation, that was already kind of a point of contention early on in their relationship. He was pretty ready to move in early. And my mom was hesitant. And her and I had a talk. And I said, look, Mom, I listen to you religiously, Nick. I'm married, but I just love listening to you. And I think you're so rational in the advice you give. So I was trying to channel you. And I said, Mom, if you're not ready, I don't think you're going to be starting off on a good foot, moving in with someone that you're not ready to move in with. And it was her home. And at the time she was the higher earner.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of supporting him. And there were already some resentments.
Still higher earner?
Yeah.
At that time. Yeah. And resentments were.
No, not right now.
Not right. He's a higher earner now?
But I could be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the roles have kind of reversed a little bit with COVID and things changing, and then her trying to build up her own business. So we had a clear talk, and she said, "Okay, I'm going to communicate that." And my mom is really strong-willed and is not afraid to communicate her opinion. But called me a few hours later, and she said, "Okay, he's moving in." I went, "What?" I was a little shocked. So I also think my mom's very good at communicating, but from my perspective, and I know I'm not with them all the time, it seems like there's a little bit of a soft spot that she has with him where she communicates, but somehow he still convinces her otherwise. And I'm not really sure where that's coming from.
Yeah. You don't have the boundary for yourself of what you really want.
I do, but so I guess the situation for me is in the past, I've had some commitment issues. I went through a very, very bad divorce. So I sometimes think that being single is a really good choice for me. And so in the past, I've kind of questioned my patterns, to be honest, my patterns of relationships and my fear of commitment.
Yeah, it's always good to reflect and question. But in this particular relationship, doesn't seem like you have commitment issues. Almost seems like the opposite. I'm curious, when he moved out, was there a break? Did you guys distance yourself, or did he just moved out and you guys kept dating? Like, you don't usually hear that very often, when someone moves out, but you stay together.
And you're still together.
So what happened is he had a jealousy episode when I was at my other home.
What does that look like? Is that a screaming? Is it slamming? Is it temper tantrum?
We actually don't do that. We've never been really mean to each other in that sense. And we don't really yell at each other or anything like that. But I was there and he thought because I needed a break, I needed time away from talking to him because he got jealous of something that was silly. I said, I just need a break for the next 2 days. I don't want to talk to you. He was living with me at the time. And he said, fine, I'll move out on the date before I got home. And I was like, these threats have just become they're at least once a year. I'm done with the threats. That's fine. You can move out. And when he picked me up from the airport, he hadn't moved out. So the next day I said, I expect you to move out.
That's good.
And we did break up. And I was going through the motions, feeling the pain, getting through it. And he asked if we could meet, and he wanted to go to couples counseling, attend church together, just do things that I think he thought that I wanted to do. And I want to travel. So he says, I'll work on my traveling abilities. And for a couple months, it was nice. I felt very soft about it. I felt very cautious. Almost after you're in an accident and when you stand up, you're kind of careful, not to hurt yourself again. I was very cautious in that sense. However, he was really trying hard. So I said, we'll give it a go. And counseling ended because that didn't work. And it's just been like this ever since. It just feels like it went right back into old patterns, except that we don't live together.
Question for you, Mom.
Yeah.
If you could do a quick exercise, like a 10-second exercise, if you could put one hand on your heart and one hand on your stomach.
Sure.
If you take 3 deep breaths and just drop in for a second. And as you take these 3 deep breaths, ask yourself, is this the man I want to be with? Yes or no? What is the thing that's coming up for you in your body?
Yes and no. I don't want to lose the friendship, but I don't know that. I know that I don't want to marry him. I mean, he's asked multiple times.
So you don't want to marry him, but you don't want him out of your life.
So I feel like I'm being a little selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing is, he's not the right one for you.
Yeah.
Because if I'm interpreting what was going on in your body, because is the first thought was, I don't know. No, he's not my guy.
But I don't want to lose him.
But there are things about him and what he in the relationship and the companionship, and there's a bunch. You care about the guy.
We
clearly have some good moments. There's a lot of great stuff about this relationship.
Do you feel emotionally safe with him 100% of the time?
No.
Do you want to be in a relationship where you don't feel emotionally safe? Is that a vision for your ideal relationship?
So when you say emotionally safe, I think that it's probably the most emotionally safe I've ever been in any relationship. I do trust him.
Yeah.
And I do believe in him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't trust me, which is
and he's unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little unpredictable.
One day he wants to live with you. The other day he wants to threaten move out. One day he wants to do couples therapy. Then he says, I'm never doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And emotionally, it sounds like you have to walk on eggshells with him.
A little bit. And, I feel bad because he's a wonderful man. And, I read your book and it seemed like it was very geared towards 20s and 30s and, finding your life partner and getting married and maybe having a family and things like that. Maybe not marriage, but living together forever or whatever. And it's I've already done all that. I've got kids. I've been married, divorced. I have the home. I have all that stuff in mind. So at this point, it's just growing old with somebody and growing old with somebody that I'm compatible with, that I can laugh with, and that I can travel with, and that would have my back in times when, I fall and break a hip or something like that.
Does he have your back if he doesn't trust you, though?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he does have my back a lot of ways.
Sounds conditional.
Yeah. If you're not flirting with guys, or if it doesn't look like you're flirting with guys, or if you're not speaking to certain people that I don't approve of,
if he's not emotionally triggered,
then I'll live with you under this condition.
Yeah, he hates all my friends. That's a red
bizarre. Flag.
Yeah,
That's a big red
and my
flag.
friends are pretty nice, and he says he's worried about some of my friends. I'm like, they range from 50 to 60 years old. They're pretty harmless.
I think
We might have a bottle of wine, but that's about it.
he sounds like a really swell guy, a nice guy.
He is,
good
actually.
character, generally overall, someone you could trust him to babysit or whatever and like do the right thing.
Yeah, he's not physically abusive. He's not screaming at you.
No,
He's
no.
not.
But he also
No.
sounds like a guy who's experienced some pretty painful trauma, whether that was just his wife cheating on him, or maybe that trauma is even deeper. That maybe could even go all the way back to a childhood thing that he hasn't really resolved, and he seems unwilling to actually resolve it. You know, and that's great. He did some therapy, and it's great he did couples therapy, but clearly either he wasn't patient enough or open enough to receiving the therapy, or maybe he just didn't find the right therapist. You know, maybe it's just he gave up on it too quickly. And instead of trying to actually heal and get himself to a place where he could really be the best partner he could be to anyone, he kind of stopped short. And now his way of dealing with it is to set these kind of crazy rules and expectations and boundaries with you, and find a person who's willing to kind of put up with his unpredictableness and his kind of emotional, immaturity, really. And so far you've been willing to do that, but you're only 54. You're not going to break your hip anytime soon. And you got a lot.
You haven't seen me walk.
Sure, but you got a life, I hope you have a lot of life in front of you, and a lot of good years in front of you. And I know dating and being single can be tough, but I love that you mentioned that, like, quite honestly, you seem to be comfortable being alone and being single, if you were.
Yeah, and you have a lot of great guy friends, it sounds like.
I do. I meet friends that I used to work with, and I was in a male-dominated business, and so those were the friends. Those were the work friends, anyway. And they're just a text or a phone call, but I'm not hanging out with them, and I'm not interested in anybody else.
Well, you haven't really.
I could literally be single.
It doesn't sound like you guys have alignment on what you both want. He wants you for himself. And not to have other friends. You want to have a great partner who trusts you fully and accepts you for who you are, and you need to accept them and trust them fully. But you don't have alignment there. And so you could have great days, but then if one thing sets him off, he's triggered, like Nick was saying, and then you're back to, well, you don't trust me, and what's going on? We should do therapy. No, I don't want to do it. And then you're just kind of out of alignment. So he could be an awesome guy, like Nick is saying. Like, it doesn't sound like he's abusive, but
no, he's great.
He wants someone who for himself, and you don't want to be, in a life where you're just isolated with one person. You want to have a life. You want to travel. You want to have friends where you're not feeling restricted to be able to talk to people. And I think that's fair as long as you're not crossing boundaries, right? And as long as you're not flirting and intentionally behind his back and making plans with other guys, I guess that would be uncomfortable. But creating those agreements, it sounds like you guys haven't figured out.
And but instead of, showing that humility and vulnerability as a 52-year-old man to say, hey, maybe I got some work to do. And instead of working on himself and doing the difficult work, his solution is to expect you to accommodate his individual needs and work around his insecurities and his shortcomings at a cost to you, questioning your friendships. Am I actually being a bad partner? Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, that's not, and every once in a while in relationships, we have to check in with ourselves, and sometimes we might get accused of something we didn't do, but this is an ongoing thing with you. And that takes its toll. Am I bad? Am I doing something wrong? And like, you're questioning yourself. If you're a good partner or not, you're not doing anything wrong, it sounds like. And this is all because, he's just not willing or brave enough or have the courage to do the work.
And also, it doesn't make him, a bad person if that's the type of relationship he wants. If he's like, I want you for myself and I want to be able to trust you, but when you do these things, I don't feel trust. Yes, he's got to work on those things. And that just may be the style of relationship he wants. And he hasn't found the match of person who's willing to give him that agreement. You have a different style of lifestyle of living, and he has something different from you. And that's, again, doesn't make you wrong or him wrong or whatever. Just means maybe there's not alignment, and that's where the friction is. I'm curious about you. What do you see as the biggest thing your mom needs to emotionally work on personally? Or is there some area of growth that she's been resisting? You know, we're talking about this other guy, but you know your mom probably better than everyone. You guys are best friends. What's the thing that holds her back from her inner freedom and expressing her full, truest self and feeling the love that she wants to feel with this guy or without this guy?
I'm glad you asked that. I think simply put, I think it's fear. I think, I don't know, for a while it was me and my mom, you know, and she's been single most of my life, and I've seen her in a few relationships. I didn't like any of the other boyfriends except for this one, when it comes to overall their character. But I think she's afraid of letting herself be fully loved by someone else, because I think she's been burned pretty bad in the past and hurt. And I hate saying that because I just want her to be happy. I think my mom has lived her life solely for me and my two younger sisters. And now that we're grown, you know, I'm in my 30s. The other two are just starting in their upper teens, 20s. And it's time for us to kind of build our own life, and we want to be friends with her still. And, you know, like, we love her and want to spend time with her, but I want to see her live her life for herself. And I'm not really sure what that looks like if she ends things with him. And again, I don't think he has to be her whole life. I think I've come to that realization, and it sounds like you guys agree that he probably isn't the right one. I just want her to be able to start living fully for herself. I don't know if that answers the question, but I think she's afraid of letting other people in. So she just focuses on herself and kind of turning inward to herself or to me and my sisters, and doesn't really branch out to build a life outside of that.
So, but like, I'm wondering, because like the time where before this guy showed up, you were single for a long period of time, right?
Yeah.
And your three daughters, you were in probably what, your early to mid 20s, and the other ones were teenagers. And my guess is it was pretty easy for you. You know, I have 10 siblings, so it was probably pretty easy for you to just immerse your whole life into your kids, you know, and probably made you an amazing mom. And it was easy to do that. But now, as they've gotten older, I guess what I'm wondering is, what if you just decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to make the tough decision, and as much as I care about him and love him, I just don't think he's the right one for me. And you immerse yourself into the single life again, and you're dating. What if this could be the first time in a very long time where you are single for yourself, and you have these friends, and you have, you know, guys and girlfriends, you want to travel. And what if you just embrace, I'm going to be single for me, and it's going to be scary. There will be good days and bad days. I'll have good dates and bad dates, and I'll have moments of loneliness. I'm even going to miss him probably a lot. Yeah. But what if you are just selfish for, you know, in a way that, you know, you're not always worrying about what your daughters are doing, and when they need you, you kind of have an evolved relationship now that they have their families, and you go out and if you want to travel, you go travel. If you you do things for you, and you have some fun, and you get out there, and you really, you know, take advantage of the fact that you are still a very relatively young person, you know, in the grand scheme of things. And instead of thinking about yourself as like, oh, now I'm going to be, I don't know, grandma, or my daughters are all younger, but I'm break my hip. I'm only 54. You know, change that narrative in your head. And get out there. And because you were single, but you never really gave your chance to find love. And maybe it's instead of the couples therapy, maybe, I don't know if are you in individual therapy?
Yeah, I therapize myself a lot.
Well, can be good or bad, but maybe you jump into some individual therapy as well, as you immerse yourself in this new kind of chapter of your life, and that person can help you hold yourself accountable with, you know, certain maybe self-limiting beliefs that you might have of yourself, and help you work through fears that you have as you get out there. It could be an exciting new chapter, but it sounds like you're making a lot of your decisions based off of fear, which I kind of hate for you.
Yeah, fear, and also I almost feel indulgent or selfish. The fact that I'm throwing away a very wonderful man.
I think
and so many people are looking for greatness, and I actually have a great guy, and I'm like, I don't know if it's right for me.
I mean, unless you're not being honest with us, which I think you are. I'm sure he's swell.
So he's a great guy, but he moved out.
Yeah,
I like the word swell.
He's a great guy, but he moved out, right? He's nice to you, but he's intermittent, it sounds like. It's not a consistency, or it's conditional. Yeah, unless you've agreed on the conditions, it doesn't sound like you guys have. There's going to be friction.
And a great guy and a great partner are two different things.
Yeah.
And maybe he's a great guy, but he's not a great partner to you.
Yeah, and he's not the great guy for you.
And you don't feel like you can be your truest self around him. The fact that he flat out just tells you he doesn't trust you. Is
big red flag.
Huge. I couldn't imagine being in a relationship with someone who's just like, I don't trust you, knowing that there's nothing you really and then, by the way, well, how can I make you trust me more? I have no idea. Right. You could just do less.
Yeah.
Don't leave the house. Don't go in.
Delete social media. Don't see any guys.
Come on.
Now the daughter here. How long have you been married?
I've been married for 3.5 years.
3.5 years. So, Mom, if your daughter's husband said, I don't trust you, how would that make you feel for her? Do you feel like she'd be able to be her truest self? Do you feel like she would be emotionally safe in a marriage if the husband says, I do not trust you?
No. I would actually be devastated if she came to me and said that my son-in-law told her he didn't trust her.
Do you think
it would be counterintuitive to who she is? It would just be, it would be horrible. Yeah.
So how does that make you feel when your mom, the guy doesn't trust your mom?
Honestly, that was kind of, I don't think that's something we've talked about. I didn't know that so I'm kind of getting this information real time with you guys as well. I didn't know that he ever flat out said that to her. And it makes me angry because I think, like I said, he's the only one I cared about of her past significant others, obviously, aside from my dad, who I love. But her new relationships, I felt a bond with him. I felt so comfortable with him. And I really opened my heart open to him and the possibility of having a new male figure in my life. He was at my wedding. And I was so grateful for him. So to hear that, it really hurts. It makes me really upset and kind of protective of her because she's been cheated on in the past. And I've watched that and the devastation that it caused by multiple significant others. And that's just it's the furthest thing from her personality. So to hear that lack of trust is there is, my mind is even more made up. Not that it's my decision, but
the fact, and you've been hurt in the past too. And think about that. You've been cheated on, and yet you're still willing to give him your trust, and he's not reciprocating that. And I think you deserve a lot more than you give yourself credit for. And I think you have allowed, and I understand why. I've been there. I think you've allowed the actions of your past partners and in your past pain to kind of subconsciously tell yourself that I don't deserve more than this guy. He's good enough. He won't cheat on me. He's generally pretty nice to me, and I shouldn't be able to ask for more. And you can. And it's kind of just a choice that you have to decide, and you needed to believe that you do deserve more and that you have a lot to offer, and it might require some patience, and it might require some bad dates and some creepy guys and some frustrations
and some lonely nights
but I think you're discounting just how much work you had to put into obviously being a mom and being single, and is it really going to be any, I just think you have a very gloomy opinion on what life would be like for you if you said goodbye to this guy. And I know the unknown can be very scary. But it also can be really exciting, and a lot of it comes down to how you approach it. And I think if you are willing to tell yourself over and over, with maybe the help of your daughters, which I'm sure they already do, that I deserve to be treated differently. I deserve to be trusted. I deserve to have someone, by my side who really lets me be my truest self, not with conditions. As long as I'm being a good partner, I deserve that. And I'm willing to find it. You might feel a little bit better about, being single and giving yourself another chance at finding someone who's just a better fit for you.
And who knows who knows what he would be saying if we were having this conversation with him about, maybe she's not showing up fully or who knows, but we're assuming you're showing up.
Oh, I'm not. I'm not.
You don't show up fully.
Not anymore.
Oh, got you. So you're more disconnected now.
I am. I'm very disconnected.
But you were at one
that
point.
would be accurate.
Right.
That would be an accurate assessment if he
So he's
gave
probably
that.
like, you're pulling away, you're not connected, so why should I trust you, right? So there's probably confusion on both your sides. I'm curious, Mom, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you could do a self-assessment of self-love, where are you on this scale of self-love for yourself? 10 being you have full harmony and full self-love. You respect yourself with every decision you make. You fully love. You feel like you deserve love of yourself and others. 1 being you have no self-love essentially. Where are you honestly on that scale? And then daughter, I'd love to hear afterwards your thoughts on what the scale is for her, you think, what number that is.
I think it probably 9.5.
Of self-love.
I think so.
That you love and respect yourself fully, that you give yourself the love you deserve.
Yeah, I think that wasn't, that didn't just come automatically. I think that took years and years of work. And I think me being single for 10 years was by choice.
Yeah.
Because I felt that I had a bad picker. And so I decided that I needed time to work on me. And I got to a point where I love being alone. I actually enjoy my company. I have no problem going to dinner by myself, traveling alone. This doesn't bother me because I meet a friend everywhere I go. Yeah. I don't have a problem with this. So I think it's good. I don't want to confuse it with confidence. Because I think my confidence is very, very high. But I believe that I've really worked on self-love.
Where do you think your mom's at on that scale? What number would you give her based on your opinion?
Well, it's funny that she said, I don't want to confuse self-love and confidence, because that's literally what I was going to say. I think on a confidence level, she's a 9.5, 10. And I look up to her for that because I don't have a lot of confidence. So I try to learn from her. When it comes to self-love, I think outwardly she might look like she has a 9.5, but I think in reality, you're closer to maybe a 6.
Wow. There you go. That's just feedback.
I don't think you honor and nurture yourself the way that you deserve to. I think you're a lot harder on yourself internally. I'm the same way. Yeah. Awesome. I think you carry a lot of it internally. So I think from an outward perspective, you give a lot of self-love, but I think you could explore a little bit more. Yeah. And I think she loves herself individually. I'm curious to see what that would look like for you, like loving yourself in a way that you don't have to end up with someone, I just want you to be happy. But I want you to be open to that possibility. And I feel like when we're talking about this relationship potentially ending, Nick makes comments about going back to dating, and you kind of roll your eyes or say, no, that's not going to happen. I mean, you guys can tell it's the last thing she wants to get back into. So I'm just wondering how she can kind of build up self-love to be open to that idea one day. And it doesn't have to be immediately if she needs that time for herself. If it's never, I'll respect that too. I want you to have that happiness and love from someone other than your daughters. Because we love you a lot, but I think you deserve it from someone else, from a partner in life.
Yeah. I guess I have a little bit of definitely fear, but also, do I need this? Is it worth the trouble kind of attitude, I think.
Yeah, well, that's good that you can admit that. And I mean, you'll have to decide for yourself. But yeah, I think it's worth it. Again, you're only 54 years old. I think it's worth it for you to go out there and be willing to put yourself in some, vulnerable but hopefully safe situations and risk some disappointment and some frustrations for the hopes that, let's say it takes you 5 years. You end this relationship. in 5 years, you're generally single. Maybe you date, maybe you're not dating for a while. You focus on your daughters. And at 59 years old, you meet a wonderful man. And for the next 20 years, you feel loved and you travel and you're trusted and you trust him. Wow, that sounds fucking great to me, you know?
Sounds ideal.
Yeah, but it's going to require some bravery on your part and some patience. And I think, and it just starts with, don't worry about dating. Don't worry about the future. I think focus right now. You have to ask yourself, and you said it. I don't think I'm going to marry this guy. And you have to separate between him, the guy, you know, oh, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. No one's questioning that. We're not questioning that. You're not questioning that. You know, he has his place in society as a good person. But he's not a great partner to you. And he is, you know, and you have to make a lot of compromises on his behalf for his emotional shortcomings that he isn't willing to work on. And he's expecting you to just deal with it. And that's just not fair to you. And as a part, you know, and how is that better than being single? Well, how is that better than dating? You know, especially since you kind of already know your answer and you have kind of guilted yourself into, well, I don't think I should break up with him because he's a good guy and I have dated bad guys before. So I don't think it's okay for me to end this relationship. Maybe he's a swell guy and maybe like you've acknowledged you had a bad picker in the past, but don't let good, you know, stop you from having maybe great.
Absolutely.
You know?
And just curious the dynamics. Is he stay over a couple of nights a week? Do you go to his place sometimes? Like, do you guys not see each other anymore? Like, where are you at right now?
He'll stay over at my house as much as he possibly can. I've never been to his new place.
Got it. So he still comes over like, what, 3-4 times a week?
Yeah.
And how does it feel when he comes over? Do you guys have good nights still, or do you just feel like uncomfortable?
No, I'm tense.
Well, you don't want to feel tense in a relationship.
No, I'm tense and uncomfortable. I really enjoy my space.
I mean, you keep saying that, but I want you to practice what you preach.
I know.
You know?
Then why is he keep coming over then? Yeah. So for me, Mom, that doesn't sound like a lot of self-love. If you allow a man to come to your house 3-4 times a week to stay the night and you feel tight, you feel closed off, you feel clenched, you feel restricted, you feel uneasy. For me, that sounds like you're not loving yourself and the little girl inside of you that wants to feel safe emotionally. You're allowing things to happen that make the inner girl in you uneasy, tense. That's not feminine flow. That's not feeling relaxed like you can dance in your lingerie in the middle of your living room. You're probably feeling closed off, sweatpants, baggy, like you're wanting to protect and guard the little you that is afraid of being hurt or harmed in some way again. That's just what I'm picking up based on what I'm hearing. Again, we don't have the whole story, but if he's coming over 3-4 nights a week and you're feeling tense and you want him to leave, the little girl in you is saying, Mom, like, when are you going to take care of me? When are you going to take care of the little one in me that is craving safety emotionally, psychologically, that's craving love from yourself? And I think when you can be there for the little girl inside of you, maybe this is a little too deep right now, but great. When you can be there for the little girl in you, the way you've been there for your daughters, the way you've shown up for your daughter, because I see you have a great relationship. But if you can be there for the little girl in you who is craving intimacy from you, craving respect and boundaries from you, craving to feel seen and safe by making tough decisions, by creating a safe playground in your own home. Your home is not safe because you feel tense in your space.
Yeah.
And that's where I was asking you about the self-love question. And, you know, I'm hearing from your daughter, it might be a disconnect from where you're at there. And it's just something to pay attention to the next therapy session you go to really start diving into that, I think. Because the little girl in you is not getting what she deserves from what I'm hearing. And the more you stand up and be a stand for her and comfort her as opposed to comforting a man that doesn't trust you, the more in alignment you will live in life, the better you'll feel.
Yeah, I like that. I
don't know if that resonates in any way, or maybe it just was disconnected for you, but.
No, it resonates a lot. It does.
Yeah. And I'll just say one thing before we have to go, but obviously very difficult to be a parent, even more difficult to be a single parent. And I'm sure it sounds like you've been an amazing parent. And at times as a parent, you've had to make a shit ton of sacrifices for your kids. And that's admirable. But I do think sometimes that parents, especially as their kids grow up, and you're so used to kind of being that martyr and sacrificing your own happiness for the sake of your kids. And I think it's not that difficult for you to do. You're almost comfortable with making that sacrifice. But kind of everything that Lewis has pointed out, like, your kids are grown up now and you've done such a great job and they have their lives. And because you've done a good job, it sounds like they have a lot of happiness. But now you need to start taking care of yourself again.
Amen.
And you have to stop making kind of the excuses of like, well, I'm just going to be a parent and it's okay because I'm doing it all for my kids. You're unnecessarily martyring your own happiness. And it is a little scary just to acknowledge that and decide it's going to be your time to focus on your happiness and take care of that, inner child that Lewis is talking so much about, which there's a lot of truth to that. And it can be scary, but I think you got to stop almost using your kids as an excuse for why you don't deserve your own happiness, because you do. And clearly your daughter and your other daughters, I'm assuming, want you to find someone. And the only way to do that is to bet on yourself and keep reminding yourself that you deserve a great relationship and you don't have to settle and you don't have to just find a good guy who's a bad partner, just because you've also dated bad guys who are bad partners. Who have done worse than him. And
I know we got to probably wrap it up here in a second, but the more I'm thinking about this, he's saying he doesn't trust you because you don't trust you in some ways. Like, you're not trusting your own body. You feel tense when he comes over, knowing he's coming over, unless I'm completely off and I'm misreading this. You said you feel tense every time he comes over. You're not trusting yourself to create a boundary. So how could he trust you if you don't trust yourself in that respect? Maybe it's unconscious, and who knows? And I'm not saying it's justified that he shouldn't be trusting you, but it doesn't look like you trust you yet. And when you start taking actions daily to create healthy relationship with self, it's going to become clear whether he's the right guy or not in the future, or what you should be taking action on quickly after you start taking action on how to trust yourself better.
No, you're actually making a great point. Yesterday, I had a little epiphany, and I thought, because I believe that the body does tell us things, it gives us warnings through sickness and what not. And I thought about that, and I thought, my body is screaming that this is not right, and I am. My brain is not listening.
It's justifying. He's a good guy. He looks good on paper. He's been nice to me. He's good to my kids. Look where he showed up at the wedding. He's kind. He does all these things that are nice. But your body's rejecting it.
Yeah, my body's rejecting it. And like I said yesterday, I kind of had an epiphany that I really should start listening to my body.
Wow.
There you go.
When you sign up to get on Nick's show, things start to fall into alignment just by
start to roll.
You started to take an action of like, hey, I want to get some clarity, and your body's adjusting to it. So everyone needs to sign up to get on this show.
That's what I'm going to tell everybody.
There you go.
Well, hopefully this was helpful. We do have to go, but just one thing: if you decide to, take this risk and leave this relationship, don't add unnecessary pressure on yourself. If dating sounds scary to you, just set that aside for now. You'll figure it out. Like you've said multiple times in this call, you're very comfortable being alone. You're very comfortable being single. Invest in some friends, maybe take a trip with the girls, or a platonic guy friend, whatever. Just go have some fun for the next 6 months. Do what are things that you have over the past 20 years that you wanted to do but couldn't do because part of the time you just had to be a mom, you had to be there for your daughters. You are an adult woman who kind of can do whatever the fuck she wants, you have probably a little, you seem to be well off enough that you could splurge on a trip here or there. Truly, you can do whatever you want. Go do it. Have some fun. And then reassess, come back. And if dip your toes in the dating pool, See how it feels. If it's too cold, take another break. But eventually you're going to have to push your comfort zones, get out there and try it again. But you're much younger than you give yourself credit for.
Oh, yeah, no.
You have a lot going on for you. And maybe this guy served its purpose and it was a nice little relationship and there was a lot of good memories. You can still cherish that.
Yeah.
You can still hold on to that, but you've outgrown him. He doesn't want to grow himself. And by the way, when you end it, he's going to do the same thing over again. He's going to be willing to do all these things that he's not willing to do.
Yeah, all these things.
But you know what that looks like. So you're going to have to show some discipline and strength and
unless he's actually fully wants to commit to the agreements that you guys make together and your own alignment. But that's going to take coaching or therapy or something. And
on his own.
Yeah, on his own. And that's rare when someone fully makes that change. Typically you guys just weren't the right alignment from the start, and you maybe just didn't have all these conversations or he said the right things, but it's not truly who he was. So, if he's willing to go all in on therapy together and you feel like you can, not feel tense every time he comes over, then okay, maybe worth exploring, but it doesn't sound like you're going to feel good either way.
Yeah. I feel like he's got a lot of healing on his own to do that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And unless he's willing to do that on his own, regardless if you're in his life or not, it just seems like you've given him multiple chances to do that and he's unwilling to do that. And I think you just have a better chance of betting on the field rather than him.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I appreciate that advice very much.
Well, thank you for calling in. We'd very much love an update, how things are going for you, what decision you ended up making. And I hope, whatever it is, whatever the decision is, we'd love an update, but maybe, lots of people listen to this show. I'd love for you to be an example for other people, men or women at this stage of life that have the same fears and insecurities that you're demonstrating and give those people a reason to hope and be brave, because again, what you're doing is scary and I understand why you have a lot of reluctance, but most things in life are, I've made this joke on the show, I thought moving to Chicago when I lived in Milwaukee was some
huge deal.
And then I finally did it and it took an afternoon. I was an hour and a half drive. I was like, oh, okay. But we play these things up in our head and we psych ourselves out and we make up all these reasons why now is not a good time to do this. But it's easier than I think you've realized. It will have its challenges, but I think being a single mom and raising your children the way you did was a lot harder than what you are about to embark on. Yeah. So give yourself some more credit than I think you give yourself right now.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. And I will give you an update.
I'll hold you to it.
I'll send photos as well.
All right. Can't wait. All right.
Ladies.
Happy holidays. Thanks for calling in. All right.
Happy
take care.
holidays. And congrats to you, Natalie.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Helix Sleep. God, it just brightens my day every time I get to talk about the majesty and majestic comfort that is a Helix mattress. It's truly incredible. I think if you're sleeping on anything on a Helix, no offense, you're a little bit of a dum-dum. How much time of our lives do we spend sleeping? A lot. What, like a third or something like that? I don't know. It's a lot of time. Why would you sleep on something that's less comfortable? Are you thinking, oh, well, because I don't have the money for such an expensive, amazing mattress because it's so amazing, it must be so expensive. False! Helix is incredibly affordable, especially compared to its competitors. It's amazing. You don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of one of those mattress stores that you meet one of those mattress people and they're, it's going to take forever to make and blah, 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 blah. It's going to cost X, Y, and Z. And oh my God, no, none of that with Helix. You just go to helix.com. Helix offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe Collection, the newly released Helix Elite Collection. Personally, Natalie and I are sleeping on the Moonlight. It's great. They got a mattress for everyone. Big, tall sleepers. Sleep on your side, sleep on your back, sleep hot, sleep cold. Doesn't matter. Helix has a mattress for you. Plus, if you don't believe us, they give you a 100-night sleep trial. You can sleep on it for 100 nights. Try it out. Do whatever you want. Roll around, sleep on it, jump on it, have a party on it. Doesn't matter. And all their mattresses come with a 10 to 15-year warranty depending on the mattress. Everybody's unique. And that's why Helix has a mattress made for you. Just go to helixsleep.com, answer a few questions about the type of sleeper that you are, and bam, they'll pop out a mattress made for your body. It's changed my sleep life, and it can change yours too. I can't say enough of amazing things about Helix. Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/VIALL and use the code HelixPartner20. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. Give the gift of love this holiday season, and honestly, you don't even need it to be a holiday season to give the loved ones in your life something from the heart. And I'm talking about Storyworth. You can't beat a gift to give to a loved one that is a collection of all their deepest and most wonderful stories about who they were, where they've come from, stories that you will be able to put into a keepsake, a timeless keepsake that you can pass down to the loved ones till the end of time.
Having a focused question is so helpful. I remember for a class in college, I had to ask my grandmother about how she listened to music, and it ended up being the most beautiful story about how she and my grandfather fell in love that I never would have heard. And Storyworth gives you these really helpful prompts that kind of helps you unlock all these memories that you might not thought of to tell on your own. And there is nothing that you can treasure more than the words of your loved ones. And Storyworth is the perfect way to take all of that and keep it in one beautiful place.
Every week, Storyworth will email your loved one a single life-related question that you pick from their collection. What's the bravest thing that you've ever done? Or what's the farthest you've traveled? So many other amazing questions that will help you discover who the people are that you love the most. And then when it's all done, after a year, Storyworth compiles your loved one's stories, memories, and even any photos into an exquisite hardcover book, creating a valued keepsake that will last forever if you take care of it.
The scrapbook walked so Storyworth could fly.
There you go. Millions of stories have already been told with Storyworth, just like my dad's, because they make the process so simple. Get started with your loved one for the holidays, and before you know it, you'll both be cherishing those timeless stories for generations to come. Help your family share their stories this holiday season with Storyworth. Go to storyworth.com/VIALL today and save $10 off your first purchase. That's STORYWORTH.com/VIALL to save $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/VIALL. How's it going?
Hi, I'm Randy. I'm 35 years old.
How can we help, Randy?
Yeah. So I'm having a hard time moving on from an ex who cheated on me.
Okay. All right. Well, tell us more. Tell us
Sure,
more about
I'll
that
give you
relationship.
some backstory.
Yeah.
I used to live in the Midwest,
Okay.
and I recently moved to the West Coast maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And when I moved out here, I didn't really have any friends. I actually didn't know anybody at all, but I met a roommate and we lived together. And since I didn't have any friends, I basically hung out with his friends. And there was a particular girl in the group that, I was interested in, but I didn't really do too much about it. Eventually, my roommate and my ex, well, her in this case, she's 28 years old. They dated for about 2 years. And whenever they dated, we hung out still, but I didn't really do too much of it, obviously, because I didn't want to cause any commotion between the living situation and, her or intervene. So they dated for about 2 years. And randomly, whenever she broke up, she reached out to me to hang out. I didn't know that she broke up, but she told me that she broke up.
But were you still living? Were you still living with your roommate?
Yes, I'm still living with the guy.
Okay.
And whenever we were hanging out and stuff like that, I don't think my ex roommate, her ex, knew that we were hanging out. But again, I didn't really think much of it because, like I said, at this point, I've already moved on with my life and just became just friends with her.
So wait, hold on. I want to make sure I'm understanding it. You moved to the West Coast and you got a roommate, guy roommate. Yep.
Yes.
And
Correct.
that roommate who you lived with started dating a woman.
In the friend group, yeah.
In the friend group. They dated for a couple years.
Yes.
They broke up. And then at some point, this woman reached out to you?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're in the friend group. So she basically just reached out to me and be like, oh, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. How's it going? And I'm having a birthday coming up. Do you want to, you basically just started hanging out as friends.
You're still living with the guy that she was dating.
Correct.
And he didn't
didn't
inform
tell you?
you? Like, you didn't know that they broke up?
I mean, I wouldn't really consider us friends. I mean, sure, we live together and we party together and stuff like that, but I don't really have an intimate relationship with the guy.
Your roommates, just roommates at the purest form.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just randomly met the guy. I don't
right.
know him previously or anything for things.
All right.
That.
So they broke up, and then
Correct.
how much time had passed until she reached out to you?
Probably 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
But again, at this whole time, I thought they were still together because I didn't know until she reached out to me. And
did she not come over ever?
in the beginning, she came over a lot, but then like the past year, I just noticed that she hasn't come over very often. But again, it's kind of like I didn't really care because it wasn't my issue.
Fair enough.
But unless we just partied together in a group, that's it.
So she reached out to you, and she's like, "Hey, haven't seen you in a while. Let's get together." And and then we
went to go eat and just talk very long time and all the stuff. It was pretty nice actually.
Okay.
And then what happened?
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so we hung out a bunch of times, and actually, coincidentally, since I've been a big fan of you, I went ahead and bought her your book, So I gave her the book, and she was really appreciative of that.
Don't text my roommate.
Yeah, don't text
currently while you're hanging out with me.
What prompted you to? I mean, thanks for the plug, but what just out of curiosity, it is a dating and relationship book for people who are struggling in dating and relationships. Were you guys dating at this point when you got to this book?
No,
you weren't.
We were just friends and just hanging out a lot. And I mean, I was starting to like her, but I didn't know how she felt about me.
Okay, fair enough. And then at what point did this turn into a relationship?
Yeah, so let me get to that. So me and the roommate, the ex-roommate, we were having issues with the house. Basically, there was some housing issue where he wasn't fixing the issue. So essentially, I decided I have to move out.
Okay.
And so my ex, Jane, she had a 1-bedroom apartment, and she was like, "Hey, why don't you move in with me as friends? She has the room, and I'll have the living room, and this will help," because she wasn't working at times. Basically, what her plan was, she was going to do like a 3-month extensive coding boot camp that is like $20,000. So she took a year off, and that was going to start in March. So, and like I said, she wasn't working. So for me to move in with her, essentially, I'm helping her with half the rent because the money issue. And then she would be giving me time to transition to me looking for a new spot. So I was like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Once we moved in, a couple of days later, we got to talking, and then we found out we started to like each other, more romantically, which at this point, there's no turning back now. So
I'm curious if you could reflect back, I don't think you just magically found out, and you can't read her mind, and you don't know where she was at, but I'm assuming you might have had at least a crush on her or something.
Yeah, I personally liked her, but I didn't know how she felt about me.
Gotcha. And so I'm curious, when you decided to move in with her, knowing that you kind of had a crush on her, what were your thoughts around?
Were you hoping something would happen?
That, yeah.
So I might sound crazy, but I feel like once we determined what the living situation, once I moved out, then I was going to tell her that I was into her, not while I was still living with her.
Oh, you were going to wait till you moved out from her?
Or whatever my idea.
Because you thought this was a temporary living situation.
Yeah, it's temporary. It's just a transition while I had issues with my previous ex-roommate.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Interesting move.
And you were living with her ex.
Well, I'm living with
He was living with her ex.
And then moved in with her.
She brought up a temporary living solution.
Yes. No. I was living with an ex-roommate. It was a guy. Yeah, her ex.
Yeah, her ex.
Her ex.
Yeah. Sorry. And then she was like, hey, you had some drama with her ex. That ran its course. You needed a new place to live. She was like, hey, you can
come here for a little
crash with me for a little bit because, you're going to help me with some rent and I need to do this, coding program.
And how long have they not been together now since you moved in with her?
I think they broke up in July. And I moved in December, so maybe 5 or 6 months.
Okay, got it.
And you knew you kind of had a crush on her, but you're thinking, all right, well, let's just see how this goes. But I will keep my little crush a secret until I move out
of her place.
Of her place.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then what happened?
And like I said, I didn't know how she felt about me. So, honestly, it went pretty well. We shared a bathroom together, and we didn't really. We just hung out whenever we can. I was still working from home, at the place, and she's still studying. So at nighttime, we'll maybe have dinner together, something like that, and just chat and go from there. But honestly, it went pretty well, even though we knew we liked each other. So her lease was going to end in March, and we needed to find a new space or a new place. So we decided her friend had a house in the area that we lived in, and she was basically going to have to move out and rent out the house. So
when did
my
this
ex was
go
like,
from a temporary living situation to we need to find a new place together?
well, at this point, we knew that we liked each other already.
How did that happen? When did you guys? Who made the first move? Like, was there like a little awkward moment in the bathroom that you guys share? Like, what? How did that escalate?
Yeah, I just remember like a couple of days after we moved into with each other, we just got to talking, and somehow it just came up, and
so pretty quickly, the first week.
Yeah,
and
it went pretty quickly. But again, at this point, I felt like we've been hanging out a lot of times already. So, but again, I don't think she knew how I felt about her, and then I didn't know how she felt about me. So,
but pretty quickly, you guys found out, and then did you guys start hooking up, or what was?
Probably like a month into it.
Okay. All right. And did you have any conversations about any boundaries or rules? Hey, was there anything like, wow, we just realized we like each other, but we moved in as roommates. Now we're a bit of a couple. What's the best way to handle this? Or did you guys just kind of play house?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would just go with we played house.
Okay. All right.
This is, I don't have a lot of relationship experience. So I learned a lot from this one.
You moved from the living room couch into the bedroom then?
No. I was still living in the living room.
Interesting.
As you guys were now a couple dating, intimate.
When we were, we haven't became like quote unquote official yet, but we just knew we liked each other, but we still we'll like hang out in each other's room and stuff like that. And like maybe just sleep over, but not like have sex, but.
Right.
When did you ever have sex?
Yeah.
Okay. When did that happen?
Like I said, like about a month into it.
Okay. So I guess that's what
point, were you staying in the same bed then after that point, like every night?
No.
Okay.
We would still go to our separate rooms unless we're having sex, I guess.
Your room being the living room?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
What happened after that?
Yeah. So we had to move out in March. So her friend offered a house, a 2-story house, like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. So we decided, you know what, we'll just go ahead and move, sign a 1-year lease into it. And so it take us until March of coming up this March. And so she started her boot camp school in March, and it runs 3 months straight. And it's very intensive. It's like from 9 a.m. to like 9 p.m., 5 days a week. And then also on Saturday from like 9 to like 4 p.m. So she's a very busy, but I'm working full time too. But my schedule is from like noon to 8 p.m. And so we get off kind of at the same time most of the days. So that's kind of how we hang out. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at that moment. But yeah, we signed a 1-year lease. And like I said, it went pretty well. There's 2 rooms at the house. So we didn't sleep together in the same room very often, maybe like once a week. But she had her own room. She did her own thing, and I did my own thing in my own room.
Did you guys ever have like a defining the relationship moment where you were actually boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes. So that was middle of February.
At the new place?
I was thinking like for us to be official once she's done with the school so that she can focus on the school. She was more
delay?
In the idea of it doesn't really matter when we became official. So we kind of met in the middle. So February is when we became official.
Interesting. So you were waiting for her to finish a program for you to then be in a relationship.
Yeah, because I wanted her to focus on school, and she's going to spend $20,000 on school. And that's,
Well, what does that have to do with you getting clarity in terms of where you stand with her?
I guess it really doesn't, but I just felt like for me, I wanted her to not have to like worry about, I guess, my needs. If she's still schooling, should be like,
but she wanted to be with you though. It sounds like she was like, hey,
yeah.
And you said
that's
no.
why we met in the middle of the time frame.
Okay.
So we became official in middle of February. This is when we lived at the old house.
You seem like a swell guy and very thoughtful, and it sounds like your intentions were to be a really good partner.
Yeah.
But the way you say it is you felt like your needs would inhibit her from being go to school or just having peace of mind, or you thought your needs would add stress to her life.
Correct.
How old are you again?
Okay.
Or how old were you then?
35.
Yeah. Well, you're being thoughtful, but you can have people are going dating or married, and they're going to doctor school. They have no time to see each other, but they still can make it work.
Yeah, and I guess that's just
Yeah.
more important. Like, and there's being a good partner, and then there's how am I trying to describe it? But like, you're doing more than was required of you as a partner, and if nothing else, like it's like when I'm hearing you, I don't know if you hear it how I'm hearing it, you know, because any healthy relationship, you know, relationships take work and they require sacrifice, sure, but they also bring you a lot of happiness and
joy
and
love.
joy and you become the person that alleviates stress, and you're the person that, despite all the things going in your life, that you're the thing that brings up that peace and that contentment and comfort, and yet you were so afraid of, you know, of disrupting her world that you set your own, like, your needs were an inconvenience to her needs, so you thought.
I just felt like since we already lived together, I mean, there's no need for me. It's not like I was going to like look elsewhere during the time that she was going to finish the school thing. I just felt like I just didn't want to add any more weight to her already very heavy bag of stuff that she needs to get taken care of, especially the school thing.
I hear you, but you keep saying that, but like weight of what? Like to
love?
Yeah, to say, hey, I care about you. I want to be with you, Randy. You know, you make me feel good. I really see a future with you, you know.
And you wanted to be with her, but you were just trying to say, well, let me do the right thing and let you focus until you're done.
Yeah, that was my mindset.
Yeah.
My question, I'm curious, like, we've talked a lot about listening to your body with other colors and things like that. There was something that was telling you that you couldn't like rock the boat, so to speak, at the risk of upsetting her.
I mean, we lived together, so I didn't want to like cause a big commotion because, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to like find a new place or whatever if let's say she didn't accept the,
there you go,
you know, waiting until after she was done with school.
So
I
I think it wasn't.
middle.
I guess that's what I'm getting at. It wasn't just like, hey, you know, it's not a big deal. You clearly had some fears about if you were to present to her how you truly felt and what you wanted from this relationship and the expectations that you have as half of this relationship. You were afraid that she wouldn't give you the answer that you wanted, and you might cross a certain threshold of convenience for her. And that answer not only would be hurtful, but like might require you to move out because, you know.
So you want to wait till you moved into the new place.
Well, I mean, we became official before we moved into the new place.
Got it. Okay. But it was like a meeting in the middle, you said, yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of met in the middle. Like I said, it sounded like she wanted to have it just official. Like within a week, we talked about it or whatever. But I was more in the mindset of let's just wait till you're done with school.
Yeah,
gotcha.
And we'll still do the relationship like dating wise and still live together. But
how many committed relationships had you been in before this? Like fully committed, all in?
Not very many. I can't even tell you.
So
not very many.
Maybe one. Maybe.
Yeah, one.
Got it. Okay.
And let's fast forward to when things got a little rocky and she cheated on you.
I mean, personally, I felt like the relationship went pretty well, even though we lived together. But there were some, I guess, disagreements, which happen, you know, when you live with somebody, which is pretty normal in my opinion. But there were things that I felt that she did kind of made me mad. And then I guess whenever she made me mad, the way I guess communicated to her in hindsight wasn't very often or nice. I mean, I never like yelled at her or like cussed her out or like been abusive or like anything like that. But I was just kind of like stern in what she did and then kind of like how I represented. For example, sometimes whenever she leaves the house, she'll forget to like close the garage.
Okay.
And this happened 3 times. You know, I have a lot of like valuable things in the garage, like car parts, because I'm, you know, a car guy, whatever. And also I'm working from home too. So, you know, if somebody comes in the house and, you know what can happen. Obviously, I've already been burglarized twice in my life. So I guess maybe that's kind of where my paranoia comes from. Like I've already had everything.
You don't have to
stolen
justify wanting to, you know, keep your things safe, but
sure.
She forgot. And then how did you handle it?
So I, you know, basically told her, hey, you know, in a stern voice, of course. Again, I wasn't like yelling or like cussing her out, but I was very stern in like how I presented, like, hey, you know, pretty dangerous whenever you leave the house and, you know, it makes me feel like unsafe and stuff like that. And I think she just kind of took it the wrong way. Another incident that happened was there was a time where she went out to hang out with her friends, like for brunch or whatever, like at noon. And I already knew the night before that she was going to go, because whenever I woke up, she was already out of the house. So whenever she came, she was been gone for like 5 or 6 hours. So I gave her a call and I'm like, hey, Jane, is everything okay? When you can come home? And she said she's going to be home around 6:30. Well, 6:30 comes around and I didn't hear from her until 7:45. That's when she came home. So there was no, oh, I'm going to be late, or, we decided to talk a little bit longer. Of course, in hindsight, I guess I could have reached out, maybe 30 minutes into it and be like, hey, where you at? But I didn't, because I just felt like, if she said she's going to do something, that she should keep her promise. At least that's where I was coming from.
Okay.
So whenever she came home that day, again, never yelled at her, never cussed at her, anything like that, never, threw anything. But I was very stern in like, hey, you said that you're going to come home at 6:30 and you came home an hour and 15 minutes late. I was worried. And essentially, one thing that I said to her, I basically told her that she lied to me, which probably not a nice way to put it, but I guess in my mind at that point, when I was heated, that's kind of how it came off. I think in hindsight now, I should have just been like, hey, at the moment, I'm not very happy with you. Can we just talk about this later?
But when in that hour and a half that was going on, like, what was going through your head? Did you think she was doing some shit? Clearly, when you said you lied to me, that was coming from a place of, it was coming from somewhere. We've all been like, hey, babe, I'm going to be home at 6:30. And then all of a sudden I show up at 7:15 because I don't know, like, I got caught into a couple conversations. Like, in an hour and a half is not that long of a time. Don't get me wrong. I hate it when people are late and don't let me know. But that's a leap to say, hey, you lied to me. But that was coming from a place of, you must have felt like she was being dishonest with you, is my guess.
After we broken up, in the beginning, I trusted her completely. Like, I didn't think she was doing anything crazy. But yeah, after we broke up, and now that I've looked back at all the past stuff, I was concerned. But yeah, like I said, in the beginning, I just felt like everything was good and I didn't have any reason to not trust her.
When did you find out she cheated on you? And how did you find out?
After the school was over. So like June.
Okay. But how did you find out?
So around 2 months into her school, I've been noticing that she's obviously very focused on school, which is great. But I just felt like I wasn't getting, I guess, my needs met. And I just felt like I was putting in like 85% of the time to like hang out and like do things for her. Like, I would cook and clean, do the dishes, take out the trash. Like 9 out of 10 times house chores, I would do everything. Cause like I said, I wanted her to focus on school. And, at nighttime, I would like to like hang out for, just to cuddle for like 15 minutes or something, just to have like, I guess, quality time, so to speak. But I just noticed that stuff's been not happening very often. And it only would happen if I went to her and asked for her, hey, you want to cuddle tonight or whatever. It's just never her going out of her way to do it. So one of the nights, it was like a Sunday, I came to her after work and after she was done with school. And I was like, hey, I've been noticing that we haven't spent much time together. And basically I was asking her if she can like put more effort into, I guess, showing me love, like go out of her way to like, hey, do you want to watch a movie tonight? Or do you want to go out eat tonight? It's always me doing it.
Okay.
And during the conversation, she basically said that she's been losing connection with me, which at this point, I'm like, I'm so blindsided because I don't understand. Sure, whenever we had arguments, we'll be mad at each other for a day, but then we eventually, meet up and like have like a heart-to-heart conversation about like kind of what happened.
Still, how did you find out she cheated on you?
Yeah, so obviously we were
fast
talking
forward to that moment.
I asked her if she was seeing somebody else or talking to somebody else during the time that she told me she was losing connection. And she said that she was talking to somebody that was in her online boot camp that lives on the East Coast.
Okay.
And I'm like, you did tell him that you have a boyfriend, right? And she said, yeah. But so I just felt like she was, I guess, emotionally cheating, or maybe she was going to him complaining about me. And obviously the guy, he's the guy, he's going to like
Sure.
butter her up and be like, yeah, stay away from Ricky or stay away from Randy. He's a bad guy. You know how
You
I'm sure you know
assumed
how it
this?
goes.
Yeah.
Huh?
You assumed this?
Yeah, I'm assuming this. Well, until more information. So essentially that night, I guess we broke up because I still wanted to work on it.
Who broke up with who?
I don't know how to answer that because I guess I came to her, but she broke up with me. But I was the one that
you confronted her. You said, "Hey, listen, my needs aren't being met." Essentially, right? She responded with, "Well, now that you're bringing this to my attention, I've been feeling disconnected to you. I've been feeling distant from you." You said, "Well, now that you mentioned that, or have you been talking to anyone?" She kind of admitted, like, "Yeah, I've been kind of like chatting with this guy," and then she just, long story short, after words were exchanged, she was like, "You know what? I think we should break up."
Yeah, basically, I told her that I'm still willing to work on it, and I guess since she wasn't willing to work on it, I guess she's the one that broke it off.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
she's the one that didn't want to continue.
Yeah.
So she didn't actually physically cheat; she emotionally cheated. Is that right?
Yeah, because the guy is on the East Coast and we live on the West Coast.
As far as you know. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. One other thing I want to mention is whenever I confronted her, whenever she said that she was losing connection, she said that she was going to talk to me within a month about, I guess, breaking up, because that's when she was going to go out of her way to tell me that, which happens to be the end of her schooling. So I just felt like she was going to potentially just use me or milk me for the next month while she was still in school. Because like I said, I was still doing a lot of the housework. I was paying for a lot of things, buying her things.
You were a very convenient boyfriend.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I thought that was a big part of the story. So obviously we broke up, and that whole month was very awkward. Like every time we see each other in the house, we didn't really acknowledge each other. Well, I would acknowledge her in the beginning, but she would just say hi back and that's it. But she would never go out of her way. Yeah, funny thing is, you know how you do your like Ask Nick thing?
Yeah.
I actually sent you a message and then you responded to me. And
what was the question?
I wrote, a girlfriend broke up with me, live together, won't acknowledge in-house, will only say hi if I initiate. How do I proceed?
What did I say?
I can read your response. You said, I'm sorry, dude. Listen to what I tell you next. It's very important.
Oh, I can't remember this.
No matter how hurt you might feel and justified to fight for her or with her, accept her decision. Always take the high road. Focus on moving out, even if it costs you some money with some inconvenience. Nothing good will come from begging or being bitter in the moment. No matter what happens in the future, you won't regret being the bigger person, being the respectful person. Even if it doesn't end in reconciliation, let your lasting memory be how well you handled moving on and how respectful you were. That's high road and long game. Two things I prioritize in life.
Wow.
That was awesome.
I remember that one.
How did that make you feel when you got that text, that advice?
Oh, I think it changed my perspective on so much things. And obviously it's coming from somebody that I enjoy listening to too. So yeah, once I got that message, it just gave me like a different, I don't know. It was awesome.
That's great.
So what did you do though?
Did you take the advice?
Okay, let me get back to one story real quick. So a week after she ended school, I know that she flew to the East Coast for about a week.
Yeah. Snap.
I just found out, and it happens to be the city that she mentioned where this guy lives.
So she went to go visit him
100%.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put two and two together and be like, she went to go see this guy, East Coast guy.
She 100% did. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Okay. And then so after I got your message, you're like, the part where you said, it's going to cost you some money. It's like, whatever. So I eventually asked her, hey, I'm like, you know what? This is just not going to work out. You just look miserable. And I'm talking to Jane here. I'm just going to go ahead and offer to pay the whole house myself, pay 100% of all utilities, internet and everything. And I'll just let you go free from this situation. And we'll just never have to see each other again.
Assuming
basically,
she moves out, yeah.
Ticket.
Yeah, you're like, you move out, I will just live here. I know we have a lease together, but you're free and clear. You don't have to worry about me paying the rent, but I do need you to leave.
Yeah, he basically gave her the option. Obviously, she accepted it. Funny thing is, whenever I brought this up with the homeowner, which happens to be one of her closest friends.
Interesting.
the friend is the one that declined that offer.
Weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. And the reasoning was because her friend wanted to make sure that she knows where her friend is living, which is so dumb. But it's not like I'm breaking the lease. I'm just living here by myself.
So, I mean, then what happened? Where are we now?
So basically that situation didn't go through. So we went back to living like normal until about maybe early September. She went ahead and just moved out. I mean, she kind of told me, but she kind of didn't either. But she basically just packed everything up. Like her room is still here. It's just right over there. And she still has her stuff in there.
So she's still paying half the rent.
Correct. So she's only paying half of
Kind of a win-win
That's
for
good
you.
for you.
Yeah.
You live alone, and
She could have just moved out, stopped paying the rent, and you probably would have ended up paying it for it. And
well, I guess you could take it to the landlord.
That's true,
and,
but I actually don't know if she's paying. I asked the homeowner, which is her friend, if my ex has been paying, but she's like, I'm not going to disclose that information. I'm like, what the heck?
Honestly, it's not your problem.
As long as you're only paying half, that's all that matters. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I got, because I have proof that I'm paying my half.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
yeah.
But then again, whenever she moved out, she didn't tell me the day that she was going to move out. So I went ahead and just lived like normal. Like we went like a month and a half where I didn't even see her. And so I'm assuming she's gone already. But as far as like the utilities, recently she reached out to me and she's like, hey, since I'm not going to be living there anymore, basically just telling me to pay the 100% of the whole utilities. I'm like,
why? She's got a storage unit. She should be paying.
Yeah, I know. And obviously I could fight back with that and like complain. Like she may not know, but like just because you don't live here doesn't mean like there's no housing in cost. Like for example, like the water heater is going to be on 24/7. Just because you don't live here doesn't mean you're not going to pay anything. So obviously I could like complain that to her and like tell her that. But at this point, I'm like, you know what? It's just like a headache.
Yeah, she definitely should, but like it's just
whatever.
Yeah, it's energy that you would just have to deal with.
And like if she comes and goes from the house, like
when is your lease end? Okay, well, it's not that far away. Yeah. She's not living with you yet anymore. And then before you when you started the call, you said, hey, you're having a hard time getting over your ex, and even before we actually started talking or recording, you mentioned that, because I was asking you, like, why are you calling? What's the problem you're trying to solve? And you kind of alluded to, well, what happens if she comes back? You said something to that effect.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the end, I guess I feel like I'm still willing to work it out with her because I still care for her, even though I felt like she didn't treat me with, respect for like,
so then
stuff that she did.
Why are you still willing to work it out?
That's just hard. I don't know.
Well, that's okay if you can't answer that question, but that's an answer. Like listen to yourself. Hey, why do I want to do this? Well, I don't know if I can really answer this question. Well, that's telling you're telling yourself something. And breakups are hard. Being cheated on is hard. What you're going through. I mean, I feel for you. I've been in situations similar to what you're going through.
Right.
And your hope that those people come back and you hope that she's sorry and regrets her decision. And
that's probably not going to happen though.
Yeah. And even if it does, honestly, I think the worst thing that could happen is that she does come back.
Yeah.
Because you have set a precedent with this woman.
That I will do every chore.
Yeah.
I'll let you walk all over me. You can talk to anyone you want. You can disrespect our agreements.
Yes.
And I'll still be here to take care of things.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that if she happens to come back, we would have to have a very long conversation. And yes, I know that I've been, I guess, a people pleaser and pushover, but I feel like if things didn't change, which, I mean, the high chance of it probably not changing, I just feel like I just want to have like another chance. But I know that if it's reverting back to what me doing like 85% of the time, I think
another
I will
chance
end it.
would I mean, again, I hope she never comes back. I'm sorry if you don't agree, but for your sake, I really hope she is gone, because you were like, oh, we would have to have a long conversation. Okay, well, even if that was a 4-hour conversation, you would say, well, you can't treat me like this and blah, 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 blah. And she'd be like, you're right, I'm sorry, and blah, 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 blah.
It's not happening.
And then she'd probably be like a kick-ass girlfriend for 2 months.
Okay.
And then, and it's in your nature, it sounds like, to be, you're nice and you're accommodating and you have your motivations. It's like it sounds like you have a desire to be a good partner, and that's great, but she is taking advantage of you. And what you need to work on, from my point of view, and I'd love to hear what Lewis has to say, is it's one thing you want to be a good partner, but you have a hard time, standing up for yourself and enforcing and setting and enforcing certain boundaries. And you're scared to enforce those boundaries because you're afraid of the answers. You don't want to inconvenience them, and then you will make up excuses for yourself as to why now's not a good time. And so you will paint this narrative in your head. Well, I don't want to inconvenience her right now. She's got a lot of school. I'm going to be the thoughtful, loving, caring boyfriend. But the truth is, you were just too scared, I think, to speak up for yourself and at various times say, hey, I want to date you. Do you want to date me? Or that's not okay. I'm uncomfortable with this. And you just kept making excuses for your behavior, and you sold it to yourself as being the understanding and great boyfriend. But the truth was, she was just kind of taking advantage of your generosity and your compassion.
Yeah. And when people want to be with you, they choose you fully. They create space in their life. They don't, dump their stuff in your space and take advantage of you and not show up. They create space. They create time. They connect with you intimately, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, all these different things. And so you want someone, and everyone watching and listening, we all want someone to choose us. But the thing we have to do first in order to find that is to choose ourselves. And it doesn't sound like Nick's talking about, that you've fully chosen you with the old way of people pleasing. It seems like you're extremely smart, intelligent, analytical, thoughtful, all these different things. But are you doing that for yourself? And until you learn to choose you and fully love and accept you and keep growing and transforming and overcoming fears and things that are holding you back, it's going to be hard for someone else to choose you as well.
Yeah, I know. After the breakup happened, I've done a lot of research, and I'm in therapy too to learn about that stuff. But yeah, you're correct. I mean, I know that I was probably too nice and too overly. I didn't set my boundaries correctly. I let her walk over me and let her kind of have her way. I just know there would be times when I would cater my schedule around to hang out with her because she can, because she happens to be free one time. And let's say, for example, I had plans with another friend, I would just cancel it with him and hang out with her. But I know now that that's just not very healthy at all.
Yeah, no.
And also, one other thing that I guess during my research, I found out something about attachment styles. And I feel like she's like an avoidant, because during the relationship, I don't remember even maybe one time where she apologized for anything that she did. And
what's your attachment
style? And I just feel
style?
like it's very hard for her to be vulnerable and things like that, which kind of matches with an avoidant, in my opinion.
What's your attachment style?
I am an anxious, preoccupied, which I know those two do not go well together. But yeah.
And were you vulnerable with her? You saying she's not vulnerable, but were you vulnerable?
I feel like I was super vulnerable.
Really?
I show my emotions to her, but yeah, I've just never seen her cry or anything. She looks sad, but never.
I believe him that he was vulnerable.
Oh
yeah.
I
don't know if you see this a lot, but I think attachment style is really interesting and great to understand, but I also find it to be something that people will do. You're in this, well, let me understand my ex now, who gives a shit what her attachment style is?
Right.
She's not your girlfriend anymore.
Right.
Right. And but it's like a coping thing that we do. It's if I can understand her more. And you doing research about her is you doing more of the same of what you were doing in the relationship.
But still catering to her needs.
Exactly.
More than yours.
You're still trying to fix this relationship that she's not even in anymore.
She's off doing something else.
Yeah. And so, but you got to recognize that, and we will sell it to ourselves as something else, you're just doing research, you're healing, but what you're doing is still trying to be emotionally attached to her. And instead of being her partner and having her by your side, we're I'll just, use my time to understand her more so that if she does come back, then I can better cater to her emotional needs. And I'll know when I'm triggering her. I'll know when I'm pushing her. And you're putting more of the burden and more of the blame on yourself indirectly.
And Nick, do you think if someone has a needy, anxious, people-pleasing energy in a relationship, that relationship can thrive one day?
No.
If they're constantly needing, if they're putting all the person's needs in front of them as well, and they're needing, and they're people-pleasing, Have you ever seen that
I've
work
not,
out?
Yeah, no.
And it's usually not the other person's, fault. We can look at what did she do wrong and how could she have done, she did this to me, but it's really what did you allow and not communicate, and what is within you that's making you people please and feel anxious, feel needy, feel I don't want to inconvenience her with her life, with what I want. And so it's really taking a look within yourself.
Yeah. This relationship was riddled with red flags from the beginning. Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, me with my boundaries issue, like I said, I've learned a lot since this has happened. But yeah, I mean,
even the fact that, like, maybe you weren't friends with your old roommate, but the fact that she had no problem calling you up and kind of being like, hey, man, what's up? That's a little...
Let's hang out.
That's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, that was a red flag I should have noticed. Obviously, back then, now that I looked over everything.
And, next time you have a crush on someone who asks you to move in with them, don't move in with them.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit...
Or communicate first.
Yeah, it's a bit disingenuous. I mean, I know, like, I'm being hard on you, but, like, it's a bit dishonest to move in with someone who, at least from at that moment, you thought she was asking to move in as friends, as roommates. You knew you had a crush on her, and you're like, well, I just won't tell her until afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, she ended up liking you, sure, but it's dishonest to move in with someone and then move into their personal space, knowing that you know how you feel a certain way, and they're unaware about that, and now you're sharing a bathroom with someone that you quite honestly kind of wanted to see naked.
Right.
And like that's a little, my hope is that you learned a lot from this relationship.
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
I hope you continue to try to learn more. Look, the fact that her shit is still at the place.
Yeah,
that's selfish of her. She doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
She does not care that she doesn't care that, you still have to see her room and see her stuff. Meanwhile,
she pops in once in a while.
Whenever.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about that you're moving on or not. Quite honestly, she loves that you're not moving on because, if she's used to using people, oh my God, she will show up at the doorstep the moment she needs you. When shit goes south for her, or whatever, if this guy that she was into, or maybe some other guy rejects her, makes her feel less than,
come right back and feel comfortable.
Oh my God, yeah.
Or she'll say, hey, I'll text you and say, hey, can you ship me this thing from my room? I need this thing. Can you do this? Can you get my mail? Can you help me here? Can you pay the utilities now? It's all these other things.
Yeah, I would.
Yep. I agree.
Would stop responding to her.
So you're still people pleasing. You still don't have the boundaries. She's in your space still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until March, once I'm gone. Yeah, but you're correct.
Well, maybe until March. Honestly, until you draw that line and stand up for yourself, because it really doesn't matter. She doesn't live with you now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And even after March, she can still reach out to you.
Yep.
She can still find ways to, use you.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been very accommodating, and you need to start.
Because you're a nice guy.
Yeah. Listening to yourself and stop making excuses for why you allow people to take advantage of your generosity.
Mm.
One thing I want to say is, like, ever since we broke up, and we've known for sure we've broken up, all of our conversation has been strictly business. It has not been any, take me back. I can honestly say that.
I believe that's great, but like,
That's
stop,
good.
you don't need to reach out to her landlord to make sure she's paying the rent, because as you said, you offered to pay all of it. You offered to say, hey, I'll sign whatever document to accept the liability of this rent. Her friend refused that. Great, fine.
Right.
You're both on the lease. So if she stopped paying rent, it's not going to affect your credit or anything like that. She'd have to report her friend, which she's not going to do. And if things change, she could come to you and say, well, she stopped paying the rent. But again, I think you got to be very careful of the lies you tell yourself, because like you reached out to your landlord to check in on her. That's the truth.
Yep.
You wanted to get an update, and quite honestly, your landlord
didn't give it to you.
Didn't give it to you. She kind of called your bullshit a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I basically just want to make sure. Obviously, she's getting her money, but I think.
But it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant as long as you're only paying your half. It doesn't matter.
You need to work on. You lied. I say this all the time. When no one lies to us more than we lie to ourselves, because we're always in our head. It's very easy to rewrite narratives to justify our actions, and you're doing this a lot. And and you're at risk because the way you lie to yourself is also sugar coated with your generosity and your niceties, and it's easy to be like, well, I'm a good guy, and you are a good guy, but you got to stop making excuses for this behavior that's putting yourself into compromising situations. Like we said, this relationship was riddled with red flags from the beginning, and despite the pain that she's caused you, and I'm really sorry for that. The good news is is that if you were to like retrace your steps, there's a lot of moments where you could have prevented this. And this is not to just beat yourself up because you're relitigating the past, but there's a lot to learn from this relationship, you know?
But I don't know. Have you read Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday yet?
Yes.
Make sure you get that for sure. I don't know if you talk about this other book called The Way of the Superior Man. Have you ever seen this book or read this book, The Way of the Superior Man?
Is it yours?
No, it's not my book. No. But it's a book that's been out there for like 25 years. I think you would really like this to allow you to have more respect for yourself, to create more boundaries. It's called The Way of the Superior Man. It's more of kind of a spiritual guide to overcoming the limits that hold you back. But it's not my book. But I think you would. I think you get a lot of value from it.
I'll check it out
because it sounds, from our short interaction with me and Nick here, it sounds like haven't had a lot of experience in relationships, one or two, it sounds like, in the last 15 plus years. And you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself in relationship yet. So you've got some work to do for yourself. And that's not a bad thing. That's an exciting opportunity. Okay, what do I get to overcome? Who do I get to step into? What's the human being, the man that I want to be, and the vision for my life? This is an amazing rebirth opportunity for you. You're going to get out of this lease in a few months. Hopefully you go into a new space and you clear the old energy and you don't have her stuff lingering 5 feet away from you.
Yeah.
And you create an environment that allows you to respect yourself better. That creates an environment for space for the right partner to enter your life. When my now fiance, but before we were dating and engaged, she got a new condo for herself, and she's tiny. She's like 5'2". How tall's your fiance?
5'9".
5'9". Okay, my girl, she's tiny. It's a little pocket, right? A little pocket thing. She 5'2", and she was doing healing and working with her therapist, and she got this space, and she was originally going to get like a full bed or something because it's still big. Or no, she was going to get a queen bed, and she said, are you attracting a queen or do you want to attract a king into your life? If so, you need to get a king bed to allow for space for someone to enter it and for them to be able to be in your space. And right now, you don't have the space where you could attract a partner because no woman's going to want to come over with your ex's stuff there. Otherwise, You're just starting the relationship in the wrong energetic space. So, you have an opportunity these next few months to start to transform yourself, to heal, to, get some coaching, some therapy, and allow yourself to process why you allowed these things to happen. Not what's wrong with her and not her attachment style, but why you allowed certain things, and stepping into the man that you want to become, the man that makes you proud of who you want to be and that attracts the right partner for you. And so I'm assuming Nick would probably give a similar feedback on that, but this is a great opportunity. It doesn't have to be a sad thing, although you're going to grieve, but this is an opportunity to recreate yourself, create a vision for your life, create a vision for a relationship you want, and start living into it.
Yeah, I think Lewis said it great. I think just to end things, I think, we always like, how do I get closure? You've heard me say, you don't need closure from her, right? Like closure is going to be from you accepting the truth of this relationship, even though it's hard. Because the truth is, you were probably being used from the get-go, and she took advantage of your generosity. She was probably never really fully into this relationship, and you were probably doing 100% of your half and 30% of hers.
More than that.
Yeah, more. Or 49%, who knows? And that's the truth. And again, don't beat yourself up, but like Lewis said, this is a really great opportunity for you. So really reflect on that.
Nick, did you ever get closure from your exes?
No.
Did they ever call you and say, Nick, I just wanted to apologize for the way things ended, and I just want to say I'm sorry. And, even though we both
anytime it's ever happened, it was long after I gave a shit.
Right, years.
Yeah, years. It's like, oh, you ran into him. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm a piece of shit. Like, no problem. Like, I could have used that a while ago. But no one ever does. Never does.
So don't expect it.
Yeah. All right.
You'll get it from yourself. You get closure by seeing the situation for what it truly is, and forgiving yourself for the mistakes you made, but a willingness to learn from it in the future. And that's all you can do. And like, listen, like, give yourself some slack. You have limited experience in this space, and everything takes practice, even love and dating and relationships. But just remember that for the next time. And
yeah, I know. Sorry, I was going to say, I know that if my friend was telling me this exact story, I know what I would say to him.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm in the position, so I have to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah, and listen, Nick, how many long-term relationships have you been in? Post 16 years old.
Like real 4.
Yeah, like after like 9 months or something at least. A year. 5. Me too.
Yeah.
It took us 5 long-term relationships of us, making mistakes and having challenges and adversity and lots of beauty and fun and adventure and, love and all those things as well. But it took both of us 5 different long-term relationships, which for me also took, lots of months of ending those relationships and grieving and healing and all these different things until we both are in healthy, loving, engagements. And so give yourself some slack. Like Nick said, it takes practice, it takes work, and it's rare that someone meets someone for the first time when their first relationship and it works out forever. So,
well, I really do appreciate it.
All right. Well, good luck with everything. I don't have an issue with you blocking her.
Yeah.
It's all about access. She has a lot of access to you now.
She's walking all over you.
And whatever you can do to limit her access to you, you're going to have to deal with her shit there, because I don't think you should make it your problem by fighting that fight. But like, try to block that off. Get excited about your next apartment. It's not too early to start looking about where you want to live and what neighborhood. And like, you take advantage of the time that you have, but you're moving out. That's an absolute. And make sure that your next place is something that you're really excited about. It's your place, and you have no reason to talk to this person.
No.
Pay the utilities, pay your half of the rent. If the landlord reaches out to you, fine, but you don't need to reach out to her. You really don't.
Yeah, some of the utilities are in her name, so yeah, I know she has to like text me the amount so I can pay. But yeah,
sure. Great. She can text you the amount, and then you can pay it. You don't have to respond.
Yep. That's it. Yep. I've been doing that too.
In 3 months, you're out.
Yeah.
Yep.
But start standing up for yourself.
Yeah, I gotta have some confidence. I know that I've been lacking that and like boundaries, things and stuff like that. But yeah,
you'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
All right, buddy. All right. Well, good luck.
Really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right. You too. Take care.
All right,
bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. Lewis, thank you again for coming. I really enjoyed doing it with you. You're welcome back anytime. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to send in those questions at asknick@theviallfiles.com for all of your, caller-in needs. We are here. We look forward to next week. We have a great week lined up for you, so we'll see you back tomorrow. Bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.